Everybody. We're here for the annual Maryland Consolidated Transportation Plan Tour. We're joined by the MDOT. We have the Acting Secretary, Samantha Biddle, here. She's going to lead that presentation. And we're also joined by our delegation, Senator Stephen Hershey, Delegate Stephen Aarons, Delegate Jay Jacobs, and Delegate Jefferson Greist. So our Eastern Shore Delegation. So welcome, everybody. And I'm going to turn it over to the Acting Secretary for the MDOT tour. Please join us.
And anybody, feel free to refreshments. Todd broke out the good plastic just for the company. It's over there, so help yourself.
All right, welcome.
We love that. Thank you, Administrator Mon. Commissioners, it's always so nice to be here with you. Good afternoon, everyone. Samantha Biddle, Acting Secretary of the Maryland Department of Transportation, and thank you so much for inviting us here this afternoon to provide an overview of our draft 6-year Consolidated Transportation Program, more commonly known as a CTP. Various members of the MDOT team today, some of whom will present with you, others who are joining the audience, always want to thank our staff for all of the work that they do year-round, working with you closely on the key issues where we are always looking to partner. I really do want to try to keep our presentation concise today so that we can focus on a very productive dialogue and make sure that we are listening to what is top of mind for Queen Anne's County. Starting off, I want to thank some of you for taking the time out of your visit down in Mako over the summer to meet with us, to talk about some of these priorities. I know that Administrator Pines and his team have been working diligently on involving the 301 and 405 intersection. I know that not just that intersection, but that entire corridor has some incredible safety challenges. And I think I will leave it to Administrator Pines to provide a full update along with, our revered district engineer, Ken Fender, has been working on a variety of implementation measures that we'll be looking to implement very quickly, along with some public outreach that I know we've been coordinating closely with county staff on. So appreciate the partnership there and want you to know that this issue in this corridor is one that is of the highest importance, and we'll discuss more with you on those details later in our presentation. To provide a brief overview of the draft CTV, we do want to emphasize how we are making strategic investments in all of our top transportation priorities. And so, as I mentioned, 301 and 405, safety really is at the top of our list of priorities, along with the maintenance and state of good repair of our system and driving economic growth across the state. The CTP is an exciting follow-up to this past year's legislative session where we were able to secure $400 million in additional transportation revenue, which when combined with federal resources and financing, turns that $400 million into $700 million in annual transportation funding. And without these additional resources, MDOT would have seen sustained and deepened cuts to transportation, and thankfully that is not necessary. Instead, I can share that the draft CTP includes investments in Queen Anne's County and all across Maryland. The details of that draft CTP do result in a balanced 6-year capital budget of $21.5 billion, an increase of approximately $300 million compared to the final CTP published last January. The additional dollars are also being used to take significant action to further maintain our system and keep it in working order, ensuring that millions of Marylanders can get where they need to go safely and reliably. Several of these highlights include continued progress on the Bay Bridge eastbound redecking project. We have Executive Director Gartner here today, can provide further updates there. And the Port of Baltimore is using dredge material to restore James Island. The draft CTP also does keep highway user revenue funding at the current level through fiscal year 2027. I will now turn it over to Administrator Pines and other members of the MDOT team for some more detail on each of those modes. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Will Pines, Maryland State Highway Administrator, and I'm joined today by our illustrious District Engineer, Ken Fender, who everybody knows so well. I'd like to echo the Secretary's emphasis on safety and that we at the department are serious about the safety of all roadway users as it's our top priority. As the Secretary mentioned, we've developed a package of near-term safety improvements and are planning a town hall for October 20th that's been scheduled in partnership with the county to work to safely reopen the US 301 and Maryland 405 intersection. We understand the impacts of this closure to the local community, but we also must take action given the safety concerns at that intersection. We know that the upstream and downstream crossings also have had recent crashes, and so we're working that those safety improvements that we're looking at would be corridor wide to cover through the area, and that's really critical for this area. Some of the types of things that we're looking at that will be discussed further at the town hall would be improvements like mandatory headlight usage, rumble strips, having occasional portable your speed is signing out there that alert drivers to the safety issues in that corridor, which are predominantly speed related on US 301, and also some quick curb installation at 405 that would direct motorists trying to cross the highway to have a better sight line for approaching vehicles. Additionally, we've already done considerable tree and brush clearing through that area, but we're going to be making sure that the sight lines are pushed back as far as possible to help improve the safety as folks would reuse that corridor once we can get it reopened. On the positive side, some other safety and system preservation things we're working on. In Queen Anne's County this year, we completed more than $2 million in resurfacing on US 301 southbound from Pralee Road to Queenstown, as well as 6 miles of Maryland 405 from Maryland 304 to US 301. We modified signals at Maryland 8 over US 50 to improve safety and facilitate peak period left turns. And we're finishing up the $14.6 million replacement of the US 301 Chester River Bridge. That bridge will reopen this fall. We're happy to continue to work with the county again this year on the Kent Island Ramp Management Program, and also related to Bay Bridge traffic and other US 50 traffic. We are, with the help of the federal Attain grant, we're continuing plans for the project to install technologies on US 50 to improve safety and traffic flow through the corridor. The Federal Highway Administration is reviewing our planning and environmental linkages study for Maryland 18, and once that is approved, we'll coordinate with the county to identify a breakout project potential opportunities that we can work to pursue together. And with that, Kenny and I are happy to take questions about these and other SHA projects after my colleagues present, and I'll now turn it over to Bruce with the Maryland Transportation Authority.
Thank you very much, Will. Commissioners, members of the General Assembly, and the public, I'm Bruce Gartner, Executive Director of the MDTA. This is one of the few jurisdictions where I feel like the MDTA program with the Bay Bridge is kind of equal of importance, to, or maybe more so than to the delegation and the commissioners than the State Highway Program. So a lot of different updates that we have for you today, everything from law enforcement planning, system preservation, major project planning, and safety. So to start off, I'll just say that now that we're into the fall season, have ended the summer travel season, we are going to be updating the brag next just over a week on the traffic volumes that we experienced this summer in the bridge. They're essentially the same as last year, so we did have that peak post-COVID year last year. The numbers are essentially the same, but the mix will change. So there'll be a presentation next week to kind of show where there were some shifts. So in the Thursday and Friday time period, a little bit of increases, little slightly off percentages on the weekend. So just saw those numbers yesterday, but a presentation will be made next week. Regarding law enforcement and the Red X situation at the Bay Bridge, we know that's of significant interest to the commissioners and the delegation. We have stepped up the signage and increased our police presence. We've had a couple targeted initiatives in those, and we want to thank the Queen Anne's County and Anne Arundel County for participating in those. It helped to have that allied law enforcement presence there to get that message out about the Red X and those lane violations. We will be, in another operational matter, we've been looking into some signage improvement at the Bay Bridge leading up, especially with respect to the trucks in the left lane or inadvertently going into contraflow. Also be updating the Bay Bridge Reconstruction Advisory Group on that next week. We think there are some tweaks we can make to the signage there. And regarding the Bay Bridge and capital improvements, we are looking into that, as we have disclosed previously, peer protection. We're doing some design work now, and we intend to begin construction next year to do some more peer protection at the Bay Bridge. So that project is moving along. We are likely to have an event later this fall, winter to just engage with industry on that process, so because it'll be in a different kind of contracting method. In the coming months, we'll be publishing the draft environmental impact statement and holding public hearings related to the Chesapeake Bay Crossing study, the Tier 2 NEPA study. That was still scheduled to be completed in late 2026. Initially, we did have some plans for public hearings this fall. Those are likely to be in the February timeframe, but that won't change the overall schedule. I know there's some discussion with staff at a recent meeting that you all had with State Highway and our folks last week. So glad to answer any questions on that after the presentations are done. As far as system preservation at the Bay Bridge, all the precast deck panels are in for this phase, and we're installing those and improving those, the joints there. I think you notice as you go across, so you might hit some of the louder ones at the beginning and smooths out as you come across the bridge there. So, and with respect to customer service and notifications, when we do have major closures at the Bay Bridge, I'd like to thank both counties on either side of the bridge and the Maryland Department of Emergency Management for working with us. We have developed a system to put out alerts within a geofenced area when we do anticipate a major closure of the bridge lasting 3 hours or more. So fortunately, we haven't had to test that yet, but when we have that first usage, we'll do kind of an after action on that, see how it goes. But that was a request to just do a better job when we have some of those major closures. I know that that some of you would like more. We are also looking at improvements to our baseband numbers, so we have to kind of refresh that. It's coming up time to refresh that, so we continue to look for improvements related to the customer service. So again, we will be meeting with the BRAG next week to, we'll stream presentations there and get into more details. But there's one additional topic that I would like to bring up. That we did have some social media over the weekend about a picture of one of the bridge piers. Needless to say, we did take a close look at that in response to public concerns and your concerns, and we assure you that the bridge is safe. There has been no shift of any of the caps on those columns. What you saw in the picture was an offset of those columns. They have not moved. There's no evidence upon visual inspection by our engineers Sunday night that there's been no shifts in that. So this is a situation where we know it appears off-centered, but those bridge girders, which are the key structural components supporting the span, they are aligned and centered with the pier cap. So that's not changed, and we have taken a close look at that. So happy to address any questions on that as well when my turn comes, but I just wanted to make sure you all heard that from us in person here today. And that concludes my remarks. I think Travis from the MTA is going to join us next.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Travis Johnston, Local Transit Support Director for the Maryland Transit Administration. The prioritization of transit in the Moore-Miller administration's budget ensures a bright future for transit across the state. A robust public transit system also means economic and social mobility. As you know, our locally operated transit systems are critical partners in providing transit throughout the state. MTA is proud to support Queen Anne's County by providing over $500,000 in grants to support your local transit operations, which includes one new small bus and a couple new power washers to keep the buses clean. So with that, I thank you for your time. And next up is Leslie with the Motor Vehicle Administration.
Thank you, Travis. Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Dews, Deputy Administrator for Field Operations at the MVA. I'm proud to report that the average wait time on the Eastern Shore for the second year in a row has been 5 minutes. This achievement has been made possible because of dedicated MVA employees who prioritize efficiency and accessibility for all Marylanders. We continue to encourage customers to sign up for My MVA accounts, where they can do over 60 transactions online. But if they need to come into a branch office, customers can take advantage of our one-stop shop government services, which houses local, state, and federal agencies under one roof. At Easton, this includes the Easy Pass Customer Service Center that's helped thousands of customers since opening last year. As a part of our ongoing outreach, we conducted a car fit technician training session with 7 members of Queen Anne's Sheriff's Department, along with 2 separate car fit events held at the Elk Lodge and at the Senior Center. CARFIT is a free educational program developed by the American Association on Aging in collaboration with AAA, AARP, and the American Occupational Therapy Association, which helps older drivers improve fit and between themselves and their vehicles to enhance comfort and safety. The MVA and our partners remain committed to solutions to save lives on our roadways to reach Maryland's goal of 0 fatalities. Last year, 7 people lost their lives in Queen Anne's, and so far this year, there have been 8 fatalities. This unfortunate increase shows that there is still work to be done because even 1 life lost is still too many. The MBA recently announced highway safety grants awarding more than $48,000 to the Queen Anne Sheriff's Department. The funding will help address distracted, impaired, and aggressive driving, as well as pedestrian and bicyclist safety. Thank you for listening. Up next is MAA.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Sean Hammer, Deputy Director for the Office of Regional Aviation with Maryland Aviation Administration. I'm happy to be here today to report. The Maryland aviation system plays a crucial role in supporting travel, tourism, and commerce. Our 33 public use, general aviation, and scheduled commuter commercial service airports across the state create and support jobs while connecting residents and businesses to the global economy. These airports generate over $1.4 billion in total economic activity while creating and supporting more than 10,000 jobs. The MAA's statewide aviation grants program primarily advances safety projects related to runway, taxiway, and apron needs. MAA intends to administer $3 million in funding during fiscal year 2026 for regional airports across Maryland. And at this time, I'll hand it back to Secretary Biddle.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you all for your time this afternoon. That does conclude our prepared remarks, but I'm sure we can entertain any questions that you have or questions from others who are here. We just want to thank you again for the opportunity and for your hospitality.
Thank you.
You got
You always have questions.
Well, while you guys are all looking at each other, I just want to make a comment about the MVA and the tremendous strides that have been made with business there. And I think probably a big component of that is the opportunity to go ahead and make an appointment, set the time and date in which you're going to be there. And I think that really speeds things up. So kudos.
Much.
Patrick, you got anything?
Can we elaborate more about the 213 Route 50 interchange by the college? It's a really bad interchange, and it's, I was just sharing with a couple of folks that I personally know someone who died at that light, waiting at that light. And we've been asking Madam Secretary for decades to have that road widen there between 213 and 404. It's a mile or two, which would take a lot of pressure off of Kent Island by widening it. But there, you own all the property on both sides of the road. The state does, for much longer of a distance than between 213 and 404. And also, there's a bridge that has been in the process. You know, it's been in the plans, as I'm sure you're aware. So is there any chance, I understand you're going to say we don't have the money. I understand that, but we've been hearing that for a couple of decades now. Could we go back to our federal partners, our 2 senators, and ask them to help us fund it?
So, we don't have enough. And I think it's important to emphasize that I think that's a corridor that has been one that's been studied in the past, and that sometimes when you have a plan that has been looked at previously, the solution that was in a plan that may, predate, obviously this conversation may be several years old at this point. We have a couple of these older corridor studies, not just in Queen Anne's County, but around the state, where we're taking a look at ways to come up with the best solution from both a safety and mobility perspective that might not be the exact same solution that was discussed in the past, Part of that has to do with fiscal constraint, and part of that has to do with different approaches that may achieve the same safety and operational outcome. So I will see if Administrator Pines has anything on his radar in terms of anything in the shorter term, interim solution wise. We do understand and appreciate and know that this is something that has been, raised even more recently as a priority. And so, from a safety perspective, we will always look to see what we can implement, even if a larger, a more substantial and larger capital project is not currently feasible.
But could we go back to our federal partners, our U.S. senators, and ask them, everybody that comes over the bridge ends up at that light, right? Whether they're from Montgomery County or they're from Howard County or wherever. That's the choke point right there. I mean, the bridge is the choke point, but you see my point.
Thanks for
So
rephrasing.
it's a federal highway. We manage it. The state manages it. Couldn't we ask them?
I think there's always an opportunity to request funding, whether it's through, congressionally directed spending like an earmark or some other type of federal grant, sort of an opportunity. I think what's important first is to identify what the right solution is. And I think that's where, I would, pose a question to Administrator Pines on kind of, do we have a solution there that we feel like we would, we would want to be putting forth in terms of a request to the congressional delegation?
So, thank you for the question. 213, it has been a long-running project that's been evaluated. There was some study work done back in 2004. Design was carried forward at one point. There was a fatal crash back in 2015, and subsequent to that,
Family. The whole family
safety
got killed.
implementations were completed, like rumble strips, some of the signal ahead warning systems, those types of things were installed at that time to help provide additional safety features at the location. The project that we have underway that I mentioned in my earlier remarks, the Attain project, that deals with 22 signals along the US 50 corridor. Some of those signals are anticipated to have dilemma zone detection included in it, which means that it can actually identify if vehicles are excessively speeding approaching an intersection, and then give additional red time to the opposite direction to avoid conflicts. I do not know if this intersection has those types of improvements slated, but I'm going to go back and talk to the team to look at what safety features and traffic congestion relief features are included in that Attain project, and I'll get you a summary of that for 213. Beyond that, the big project, right? The full interchange, grade separation, all the things that have been considered in the past. As you mentioned, that is not in the CTP at this time. I think our bigger challenge with the concept of going to our federal partners and seeking more funding is that it still relies generally on state match funding. And so, you're kind of left with the challenge of finding the state funding to support the project, as the Secretary mentioned, with so many projects that are needed statewide.
Well, can you explain, you mentioned the flashing, signs of what their speed is going. Some people have asked about why can't you just issue tickets? Can you explain a little bit about what the rules and the regulations are around speeding cameras on 301?
So there's different kinds of speed enforcement. Speed enforcement is considered by Federal Highway a proven safety countermeasure. That can be done through automated means with speed camera systems. State Highway has enabling legislation that went into effect last session to be able to do speed enforcement on 695 and also on I-83. However, US 301 does not currently have legislation in place that would enable State Highway to put in automated enforcement, if that's what you're talking about. So beyond that, some local jurisdictions have authorization for speed enforcement. Those generally are not on interstate or US routes, any of the larger roads. They tend to be either around school zones or residential areas. And so enabling legislation for automated speed enforcement, I think in this county would be needed for either the state or the county to administer a program. But there's always conventional enforcement with speed. State Highway does not have control over direct policing, but we do have great partnerships with the Maryland State Police. We have what we call a TOC partnership, where we have some Maryland State Police that are embedded in our statewide operations center to help with targeted enforcement. We apply for grants through the Maryland Highway Safety Office to do enforcement initiatives like speed enforcement, move over law, all kinds of safety work zone stuff. So those are options, but you know, just my own tenure at MDTA, having a police force, there are many, many more requests for increased police enforcement than what can practicably be done on a regular basis. And that's often the driver when folks want more enforcement, that it kind of gets to a tipping point where the automated enforcement starts to really come into play.
Thank you. I know that's a question that people have, so I appreciate the explanation.
All right, I got a couple questions. I'm going to shock you guys. I'm going to start with Travis with MTA. The bus system, it's my understanding of what I've been reading is MTA is trying to move towards regional management of existing bus services. Does that pretty much sum it up?
Are you speaking about other locally operated transit systems from a regional perspective?
Well, I'm speaking, for instance, like ours, the Queen Anne's County, and we get funding from you through the grants and everything else. But I noticed that there's, I guess you're trying to, someone is moving towards a regional, like, for instance, districts in a different management plan. Am I wrong in that?
Not that I am aware of,
Really?
no. The only thing that we're potentially looking at being led by Anne Arundel County right now is for a Chesapeake Bay ferry shuttle.
No, yeah, no. Everybody has their own bus system, and the majority of them get funding through MTA.
Right.
And it was my understanding that, for instance, a portion of Howard County and a portion of Montgomery County and a portion of another county, because the densely portion areas there, were going to be under a new regional.
It's been that way.
Well, I mean,
It's always been that way?
no, well,
No.
there's, the RTA used to serve Howard County, Anne Arundel County, and
Correct.
Prince George's.
Right.
With a regional approach, but that kind of fell apart. Yeah, it's kind of scaled back down. Nowhere else is really talking about doing it that I'm aware of.
Okay, so I don't have to worry about Queen Anne's County, somebody coming in and saying, look, we're going to take over your bus system and manage it for you.
No, that's news to me, so I'll certainly check into it and
Okay.
put my feelers
Good.
out, but I have not
All
heard
right,
that.
well, that was, okay. I guess, Will, I guess we always like talking to each other. I know we're in the midst of the Bay Bridge NEPA, and I know that the reason why the town hall got moved, and because it's federal government's cut back on employees and everything's slowing down there, and I understand all that. But we are moving forward to some decisions on 4 lanes versus 5 lanes and everything else. But I know we've had discussions in the past that when we're talking about redoing the Bay Bridge and getting more capacity, but we're not talking about the Severn River Bridge, the Kent Narrows Bridge, and some of the other alignments. Anybody want to take a stab at what came first, the egg or the chicken? Does the bridge come first, and then we hope that the existing roadway and what we have will handle that? Or is there a plan to, if we're adding a new bridge, a 5-lane bridge, are we going to be looking at the Route 8 overpass, the Kent Narrows, or any of the other bridges along Route 50 where just moving the bottleneck? I don't know.
I'll just talk at a top level that we're a cooperating partner with the MDTA on the NEPA study. The limits of the study originally started from Severn River Bridge to the US 5301 split. And so I did look at the infrastructure along the way. Alternatives and, the limits have been considered through the study, and I candidly don't want to say where that's going because, that's what the upcoming meetings and process will resolve. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously the need for that study initiated by MDTA was because of the, situation with the mismatch of the lanes on the bridge and looking forward at that life cycle cost of the existing structures of the bridge. So, I mean, it won't preclude anything from happening, from the state highway end, but that would be, a different funding discussion that was brought up for previous things.
Right, well, I guess, if we're moving forward with the bridge, and God willing we are, because we need it, but I would just assume that sooner or later, we're going to have to address those And it's not, we're not going to address them in the next 6 years, according to this big, thick book up here, right? Unless there's a change in, okay.
Yeah, the current CTP does not include construction funding for making US 50 improvements to those interchanges or Severn River.
Right.
That would be, we would wait for the NEPA study to conclude what the alternative would be.
Okay.
And then we'd use that as the basis for scoping
Okay.
out what happens next.
Okay, yeah, all right. And then I guess in all of our efforts on the eastbound bridge with the redecking, do you have any idea when they're going to be done pulling out the precast and casting in place the joints?
Weather dependent should be later this year, but we'll be updating that next week 2, so just,
Unfortunately, I won't be there, so.
we will make sure you get real-time information.
Okay, very good, very good, okay. And then I guess
Won't be the
last
same
thing-
without you, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last thing I have is and we always, Jack's not here to tell me how the soapbox, but the lane 2 on the westbound bridge between the false channel and the main channel, what is going on there with all the patches?
So we're getting back to some of the normal work now that we finished the eastbound bridge, so this is just normal system preservation, patching, and things that we have to do on the bridges.
That's a lot of patching. I mean,
It's a big bridge.
yeah, but I'm talking, there's patch next to patch next to patch, and anyways, okay, I'll leave it at that.
It's a safe bridge. We're studying everything we can to see what we can do for replacement bridges too at some point.
Yeah, man. That's all I got.
All right.
It's enough.
Delegation? Sounds good.
Yeah, if I could very quickly, Secretary, you had mentioned, I think one of the.
Senator, can we, you mind if we hand you the microphone or something so that the folks back home can hear you?
Yeah, that's okay.
That works too. Thank you.
My outside voice isn't working. My front row voice. Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners, for giving us the opportunity to join you. And this is the second of the meetings. But you had mentioned something that was of great concern to many constituents, that not only here on the Eastern Shore, but certainly throughout the state. And that's the additional $400 million that was raised through doubling the registration fees, the VEAP fee, the titling fee, and the increase in the excise tax. What people are asking is, as a result of the motorist being responsible for essentially all of that, those types of payments, where is that money going, and what is that money being used to do?
The 400 million, how the 400 million was programmed specifically?
Correct.
So if you look between last year's draft program and last year's final program, that's where you're going to see the biggest change in projects that were in the plan. Last year's final program was put out contingent upon the department receiving additional funds. So if you recall the meetings that we had last fall, we were talking a lot about deferrals of projects, both in terms of deferrals of construction dollars and in planning, design, engineering dollars as well. So we were able to, between last year's draft and last year's final, put together the program that was published last January, which restored funding for a lot of safety and state of good repair projects at the various modes. There was a deferrals list that was published last fall that covered a number of state of good repair deferrals. I'm trying to recall if it was specifically at the Transit Administration, also at the Highway Administration. So last year's final, in fact, shows where the $400 million went, because it was published contingent upon the department receiving additional revenues. Had we not received additional revenues through last session, this draft this year would have looked like last year's draft with additional deferrals and projects that we would not be able to proceed with.
So in a sense, you're saying it filled the gap between what was initially submitted last year and then what the final CTP came out to be. Okay, so that's backwards. Obviously, this money continues every year as these increases were not just for one period of time, but will continue forward. So is it safe to say to our constituents that these dollars are going towards state and road projects? As again, all of this money is coming from motorists, that's who's paying for registration and obviously new increased sales tax. is it going to fill the gap for road projects, or is it just going into the Transportation Trust Fund, and who knows where it goes from there?
I think it can be challenging to look at, a single dollar and kind of, because it does go into the trust fund. I think
Right.
there are some examples that we could work on to provide to you at a local level and at a state level that'll show kind of, if you look at last year's draft versus this year's draft, in terms of some of the system preservation funding levels at State Highway, for instance, where we were in terms of our resurfacing numbers on a fiscal year basis, or our safety and spot improvement numbers on a fiscal year basis. There is growth in those fund areas, and then what we do is those funds are then programmed to literally hundreds of projects across the state. So I think there's a way to look at what was not funded for advancement last fall, which we are now looking at funding. I'll be honest, there's always going to be more that we're going to want to deliver, but what this funding did accomplish for us was to be able to take care of our core safety and state of good repair needs, because those were the types of projects that we, at last year at this point, we weren't even able to complete those. If you'll recall, even the year prior to that, we looked at our expansion program, and that was the first area where we made cuts. Last year, this time, we were looking at making those cuts in safety and state of good repair, and so that is why, those are the holes that were filled by having this new money come in.
I guess the question would be, why would it be those projects that are falling out? If that is the essentially the most important, rather than expansion projects, is to maintain the system, the core of the safety, state of good repair, why would those projects have fallen out? Why does it make sense to go back to our constituents and saying, we doubled your registration fees so we can still take care of things, as opposed to why wasn't all of the money that was in place already from the fees enough to do that?
So the deferrals of safety and state of repair projects were kind of the last place that we went when we had to make some tough decisions last fall, but it was kind of the first place we went when we restored the funding.
All right. Okay. I think that's what we had difficulty with in the General Assembly, because, again, you rather than saying that here was a specific project we weren't able to fund, it was kind of went after the core and safety things, which everybody would then say, well, sure, let's get on board with that. But again, the question I keep hearing from constituents is, why wasn't what we were paying enough to do that?
I understand, because I think there have been increases, and just trying to understand, the year prior, why weren't those enough? We can definitely do some work to kind of better illustrate, as a result of having additional transportation revenues, these are projects that we're now able to fund, if that's something that is helpful. I also think that it was not traditional for us to put out a final program last year that was contingent on receiving additional revenues, and I think that in itself could be making sort of
That was a little troublesome.
It's
Yes,
a little,
it was. Yeah, I would
a little
agree.
tricky.
One other thing, and it just came out, and again, I'm asking because we've gotten a number of questions as well, was the recent audit by the Department of Legislative Audits came out and talked about the $360 million that essentially, I think, was assigned to federal projects. And now hearing that is either not being reimbursed, or they're not recognizing that. What does that do to the CTP? Has that been included in this, what we're seeing right now? Or are we going to have that same type of scenario where we're looking about that, $400 million gap that we have to fix again?
Right, and so the first thing I want to emphasize is that the figure that was, reported in that audit does reflect a snapshot in time of where we are in terms of federal funding reimbursables, and that we continue to process reimbursements with federal highway to draw that dollar amount down. And so, currently we are not in the position of making any drastic shifts in our program, because the team is fully focused on working through that reimbursable process. It's an ongoing process where we always are working we put out the funds for projects, and then we seek reimbursement from federal highway on the components of projects which we feel are going to be reimbursable federally. I can allow Administrator Pines to talk a little bit more about where we stand with things right now, but I do appreciate the question.
Right.
Sure. Thank you
Yeah.
for the question. Actually, for both questions, because I think the one actually leads a little bit into the other. And
They're a little
let's
tied
start with
together.
your first question for a second,
Right.
and then work back to the audit. So, coming out of COVID in 2020, the department has faced significant pressures from inflation and from out of COVID, the downturn in revenues. All of us remember there's nobody driving anywhere. There was a revenue pressure there at the time, and also projects just frankly cost more. When you go to the store and you buy eggs and it costs more, that same kind of price escalation has been experienced within our projects. And so when asked the question like, hey, why isn't the money that we used to pay still getting us as much as it used to? You know the answer. We all face it every day when we go to the store. But beyond that, back in 2020, the leadership at the time recognized that we had very significant state dollar shortfalls, and the way to keep many of our critical projects moving was to strategically look at where there were federal funds available to move projects forward. We got a great question today about how can we take advantage of federal money that's out there. And I want to remind everybody that federal funding is a good thing and it's there for us to use. The issue is that at State Highway, we made a number of changes in the programs that we were implementing to be able to utilize more federal money. As an example, in our early years, we used to fund the planning and design phases fully with state dollars. Today, we fund those with federal funds. It's a totally eligible practice. We're allowed to do that, but it creates a significant administrative burden on the state to process the additional federal funding. However, when that decision was made in 2020 to implement those changes to leverage more federal dollars, that decision wasn't operationalized, meaning the people, the processes, the systems were not updated to increase to that kind of volume. As an example, that one decision on leveraging federal dollars at the planning and design phase, we went from back in the 2019 period, pre-COVID, processing less than 40 federal actions a year for that phase to now we process nearly 500. And so there's a significant volume increase in the amount of federal activity that we have. And as the audit report said, we have procedural challenges with keeping up with that volume. We have had issues with the processing. We acknowledge that, and we're actively working with our federal partners to process it. So, we gave a very clear and detailed response to the audit. I encourage everybody to read the actual audit report and what it says, because there's what it says and, things that aren't said, but that are implied. But we are actively working, and as the Secretary said, there are receivables that are coming in that were part of that audit that we are recovering today.
Okay, but to ease some minds, you don't see a $360 million gap that the legislature is going to have to look at filling again?
We do not see a $360 million gap.
That's positive. Okay. I know my colleagues have some questions as well, but thank you both very much. You too. And
You're asking if it's a $350 million.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Senator, for your question.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. To thank my senator for his questions, and I'm going to ask first, Will, on the 301 bridge over the Chester River. It's been about 3 years in the process. You say it's going to be completed this fall. I'm getting a lot of complaints from constituents about how long it's taken and the inconvenience there. Do you have a more definite time frame? Or
I'm going to kick it to my astute colleague. If I'm going to put the needle on somebody to give the right date, I want to ask my good friend Kenny Fender, our district engineer, to.
Well, that's not fair.
We're still looking at the same time frame for completion. I drove by the project a couple times over the past couple of weeks, and they are getting to a final stage of substantial completion for that. We're still shooting for a late fall completion, but I'm probably going to have to go back. There's been some challenges with our contractor and some of the other things going on out there. It's going to be a nice project when it's not, but let me get back on those. I know where we're at with the final timeline on this. I can let you know.
We should have a big ribbon cutting on that one.
Do you want us to restate for the record? Do you want us to
We'll
restate
name
for the
that the
record?
Kenny Fender Bridge.
So people.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that?
Yeah, for the record, just to, so that for the viewing audience who may not have been able to hear, our district engineer Fender said that we'll follow back up with the date. We are having some challenges with the contractor. It's still going to be this fall, but precise date, we want a little wiggle room to get back to you.
Yeah, and thank you. And I am happy to hear of the project at 405. I know it's been a rough area there. I'm glad to hear. I've talked with Kenny Fender about a lot of the work that's been done, and that will continue, and hopefully we'll end up with a safe solution up there. And I've got some maybe pending legislation I'll need to talk with you about. I'm not going to bring it up today. It's also related with some of the accidents that's happened in 301 as well. But the one thing I did want to bring up that's kind of off topic a bit to the secretary, in a couple of the CTP meetings on the shore, it was brought up about the MOU with the MDOT and the oyster restoration funds that's been in existence for many years. I was happy to read the letter, your letter to Dorchester, saying that funding has, you fully funded it for 25-26 season, year. And that this year, I know 2026, that MOU expires, and hopefully that we'll be able to work that out to continue that stream of funding, which has really been formally driven, for the dredge work that's been done into the port for the past several years. I know there's a whole nother argument with DNR about how much money finds its way down to the oyster committees, but it's good to hear, and I thank you for your work on that to issue the fact that we are getting the fully funded amount this year.
No, I appreciate your partnership and support, from yourself and other members of, delegation representing kind of the whole shoreline. It's been, we've heard loud and clear the importance of the funding. And so kind of we want to continue to work in partnership and make sure that between our staff and DNR, kind of we're fulfilling all of those commitments.
And I think the Maryland Waterman Association, Maryland Oysterman Association was also involved in that negotiation last time with Dave Blazer, and hopefully we can keep the same kind of people involved in it, making certain everybody's happy and we keep this funding going.
I think this is a great example of, as I took a look at some of the previous agreements, I saw some familiar names on them, but some names that are no longer kind of part. So I think we've got to kind of get the band back together and come up with the right solution.
But anyhow, I do thank you for that funding, and hopefully we can work out the differences with DNR. And,
yes, sir.
And at a time when oyster restoration is doing very well in the state, we want to make sure that funding continues. So I'll turn it over to my colleagues. I think they have some more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. It's always good to see you all. I'll be as brief as I can be. I'm running into a lot of issues with Easy Pass still. I mean, and it's not minor. We have people out there with thousands and thousands of dollars that are being penalized. We're fixing it, and there's a young man by the name of James Kittleman that's been sensational. He's like the only guy. Part of the problem comes, I think, is when there are calls back, people don't do it. People try to call back my constituents once. They don't get an answer, it falls and it drops. And I think that's a situation. I know there was some legislation being looked at to try to rein in Easy Pass. That's a third-party vendor. They're pretty hardcore. They pretty much tell you, you're done, you can't do it. We do have instances where people cannot get to work. Now, when I ride through Washington, D.C. in my pickup truck, I get beautiful pictures of the front and back in the mail. And they're really nice pictures of my truck, and I pay my bill. I don't know what we could do better to help these people out, because you should never get into the point where you owe thousands of dollars in a fine. I mean, a certified letter or something. And maybe they're trying to do that. Maybe you can help me out with what we're doing and how we can fix it.
There are several efforts that we're taking to address just how we can improve your customer service. So there's two issues. There's the folks that have ended up in a situation throughout the pandemic and the periods we went through there that found themselves referred to central collections for the state of Maryland. So all the debt that we have that we can't collect, they go through the registration, the flagging process, we've gotten a lot of action when and calls in from people when they end up in that situation. That's unfortunate because that's farther down the line. What we are looking into do is provide a second notice, not batch things up. So these are all forward-looking things. So there's now that we have the Easy Pass system, and so this is the vendor that we contract with. We're working with them now that we've accepted the system and it's fully operational to the specs that we have. We're working on those improvements. So the good news is we're in that situation. The bad news is we're still having to help some of these customers that have. There's a wide variety of reasons, and we, as you know from seeing them, we go into the specifics. We do have the ability when we've made a mistake to call back that debt from CCU if there is a mistake. We have also instituted payment plan options too, so we can work with those customers. And I think what I'm hearing is that we need to do a better job when the calls come in to that first call, that they are able to be channeled to the right direction. There's some more things that we can do there, but happy to have some more offline conversations.
My big thing would be,
it's a big challenge.
It's a big challenge, but when you get to a threshold where I can't manage to pay for it, we ran through this during the pandemic. Everybody was caught kind of dumbfounded by it, but maybe there's got to step that up, how we notify people, because by the time it gets to the point where I don't get my license and I can't register my car.
We are doing
but
that,
I
yes.
appreciate that.
May I?
I'm sorry?
May I?
Yeah, you may. You're in charge.
So we've had at least, Secretary, we've had at least 2 people from Queen Anne's County contact us. The one gentleman with $4,000 in tolls had $22,000 in penalties. He's contemplating bankruptcy. Is that the message that we want to send out?
So the fees that we have now are transaction based. So what we need to look at, and I have the team looking at, is moving forward. Are there different alternatives to have a bigger iToll, so when you don't have your transponder and it's not reading that transponder when you're choosing to video toll, and these are the situations that we have. I mean, the first thing we've got to say is like that transponder and having it mounted perfectly and keeping your registration up to date. But to the extent that we have these situations where it's these time and again, accumulating these things, is there a better structure moving forward? The challenge is moving back in the past.
I just got a fine from my son who's at College Park. The transmitter's been on there for 5 years. It didn't pick it up. He owes $21, and guess who's going to pay for it? So it's happening as we speak. But to the delegate's point, the folks that are
Trying to pay.
not only did that, but they suspended. You're suspending their registrations, so they can't get to work. So the 2 folks, one of them was an Anne Arundel County teacher, had to quit teaching because she could not get there, because we don't have a bus service organized enough here to do that. So I'm asking if you would be kind enough to look at all of the Queen Anne's County people. I don't think there's many of them, but for those that are in a really financial hardship, and to the delegate's point, can we just put them on a payment plan just for the tolls, not for remove the penalties? Because they're not going to be able to pay both.
You can certainly take a look at some of the, higher account numbers, any constituents that you want to pass over to us to make sure the point made earlier, we do have a good constituent services team, although James is just one person, but there's the entire team within our Easy Pass operations. And so I think that let us take a look at, some of these ones that you've heard about specifically. We can also take a look at some of the, the higher balance accounts and kind of see what.
Yeah, we have that distribution.
And see kind of what the, what the engagement and interaction has been there in the past. I think we want to do everything we can to facilitate people being able to make their payments, and appreciate both of you sharing those stories.
We've had some good success with the payment plan type situation.
But they're not going to be able to make the payment on a $28,000.
No, we can look at the specifics of those cases, and we are looking at some things moving forward in advance of.
Yeah.
being in front
Keep
of
in
them.
mind, after we get involved in this, there's a lot of my time involved in this and our time
Yes.
involved in that.
believe-
People are more reasonable than we're letting on sometimes. So it works out
I
sometimes.
just want to shout out that the delegate has been
totally agree.
all over this. And this has been a year that we've been trying to help these folks. So, and I will say that the CCU just recently, in the last week or so, has become human. They've become more reasonable, and it's because of the delegates' work.
Good. I have two other things I don't mean to belabor the point. Big trucks and trucks with trailers in the contraflow lane coming our way. What are we doing to stop that?
So obviously, we're always looking at in those enforcement mechanisms, but the request was some additional signage just to make sure that there's a lot out there. I just saw a plan yesterday of where we can move some things around, put some bigger things up on overhead and everything. So the biggest thing is getting out that notice and potentially using those the dynamic signs as well.
And we had talked a few
couple
years
fronts.
ago about, we're taking your toll when you come off that bridge regardless. What's the possibility of just putting a camera in there to flag them? You're tagging me every time I go through there anyway. You're seeing my license plate. If you catch somebody coming off that third lane or the fourth lane when you're coming off the westbound bridge, eastbound, cameras are flagging you then too.
So I know there have been a number of different enforcement, camera enforcement discussions going on. That would be something the legislature would need to look
Similar
at
to
in
the
terms
Red
of,
X.
similar to the Red X, so.
Okay, the Red X was my last one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still a debacle. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people wave me over, to come in, cut in front. People are still coming down. We're enforcing it more. I see more of that, but it's not enough because they see that red thing and they just keep going until they can't go any further. And they're way ahead of the game of people, calling you on the phone next to you saying, why don't you just get in front of me, I'll let you in, or something like that. But that's something I think we need to address. That's a little bit of road rage there.
So Administrator Pines had shared with me some of the discussions that he had recently, and one of the things that in the past week we've looked at is just what we need to do. I mean, that would be legislation as well, but that's a whole different type of enforcement. So I've asked my engineering team to look at some consultant work that could help us kind of like what would we do to spec something like that out so we could have some conversations about what to do there. It ultimately be something that you and the General Assembly would have to decide on that enforcement.
On the legislation, I'm all for putting a bill in about cameras if you guys want to work with me with something you could live with, but typically we got to find something you could live with before I present the legislation.
So that's a conversation I'd love to have with you,
Then
right
we
after
will.
this. Yep. Because I think there's something we can do.
Okay, good. Thanks so much.
All right,
Hell yeah.
thank you.
What's the most expensive toll road in Maryland? What stretches, to the
Route
the driver,
95.
not the cost to build it, but I'm just curious, is there one section of that's like, man, that's $40 or $50?
Section, no. No, sir. So, in terms of our crossings, we have the JFK, because it is only tolled one way, it tends to be that more expensive, tolling point at the Susquehanna.
Virginia,
But that's, the rest of 95 is not tolled.
there's a stretch in Virginia, like 24 miles, and it's $67. I found out the hard way when I got a $3,700 bill. So,
Do you have a
yikes.
question in there?
Yeah, I paid it already.
So this is good. There's only 4 of us, so, in some of the counties, you might have, like 6 or 7, and it could take a lot longer, so you're good to go in this county. Obviously, we're talking about money on a lot of these issues that we're talking. This is the second county that we've had, Caroline and now Queen Anne's, and the top priorities are, road expansion and new bridges. The money's still there. I mean, your budget over the next 6 years is about $46 billion. About half of it's, a little less than half of it's operating, a little bit more than half of it is capital. So the money's there, but what it comes down to are priorities. Under the previous administration, his priorities were roads and bridges. In fact, my colleagues in the legislature got frustrated. They got so frustrated that their priorities weren't getting funded that we changed the law on how we're going to prioritize how transportation money is going to be spent. And so that pendulum swung a little bit with that legislation. And so I guess my first question is,
where is that pendulum now? Are we not going to build roads and bridges anymore? Are there any roads and bridges anywhere in the state that are being built? Any new bridges, any road expansion anywhere in the state now? Or is it just our projects?
There are definitely roads and bridges that are being built across the state, and on the expansion side, I think the important thing to note about the ones that we are able to advance specifically in this program is that there's a real safety nexus associated with them. Not to say that there are not safety needs in the counties where we've met and talked already, but some of these are the ones where we had to defer construction funding that was already in place at one point. These are projects where we have a lot of the preliminary design, engineering, and we're getting close to the point of advertisement. So these are ones that were already moving their way through the pipeline. I think two that we had heard a lot about, and two where we had done a lot of work and where there's a lot of data supporting the need to invest, are corridor projects on US 15 in Frederick and on I-81 in Washington County. Those are two projects where the State Highway Administration is advancing the design to move fully into construction on those two. Another project is one more in an urban setting where we also were able to advance the construction there largely because we were able to highly leverage federal investment. But I'll let Administrator Pines talk a little bit more about some of the key investments, because we are making investments in the roads and bridges side of things, as well as on a number of smaller but still significant safety and state of good repair efforts through the system preservation budget.
Sure. So top line there, to answer your question directly, there are what I'll call expansion projects included in the program. Projects that were started and that are continuing, even with the revenue challenges, were there. So for example, on the Baltimore Beltway, there's the 695 Tismo project. And then in Prince George's County, there's Maryland 4 Suitland Parkway. These are multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, big, large capital investment projects. In the new CTP, what was enabled with the new funding, as the Secretary mentioned, US 15, I-81, Maryland 97 in Montgomery County. On the southern Maryland side of things, Maryland 5 Great Mills. These I could keep going, but like those are.
Well, my follow-up question, you mentioned Southern Maryland. Are any of these projects, I know now they're being scored, and there's a lot of variables now that go into the scoring process. And from my perspective, it's just my opinion that I think that a lot of those scoring mechanisms are very biased towards certain regions and certain neighborhoods in the state of Maryland. Are any of these new expansion projects in the rural parts of Maryland?
So there are projects that are in the D&E phase, like for example, Maryland 90 into Ocean City. So the Eastern Shore is kind of getting a cut of that increase, because you got to take projects through the life cycle, right? So we do have projects in the pipeline. We have existing significant system preservation investments like US 50 Kelly Bridge into Ocean City, major draw span, lots of painting work needed, a lot of investments just to, like Bay Bridge, keep things going. So there is money that's been added for paving, resurfacing statewide. All of those programs did see some funding from this.
I think it did, and I think we were certainly spoiled under the previous administration because roads and bridges was its priority. In fact, Roosburg Road and 301, I think things were probably financially tighter then than they are even now. And that was a project that, was still able to be funded. And these are projects that have been requested for a number of years. And I certainly don't want to go back to our constituents and say, hey, despite the fact that you're paying a lot more in fees and taxes and all sorts of other things that, we're not going to be able to do any more expansion projects for you. We're very lucky and fortunate if we can maintain your roads every 10 years now, which, I'll say that again, that's got to be our top priority. And I'm very concerned that we may not stay on schedule there. And I'm looking at Kenny over there, and he knows better than any of us of whether or not we're able to maintain the roads, in his district. And obviously that's a big priority for us. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
One last thing. There's garbage all over the Kent Narrows and Kent Island, and apparently we only have one sweeper in the the surrounding counties, the 3 counties, and our sweeper's broken. Is there any way that you could maybe contract out to have our roads cleaned up a little bit?
We have various agreements with different counties to help provide support, and also sometimes when the counties want to see higher frequencies than what we can offer, we have those kind of, I'll call it like a mutual aid agreement. We certainly happy to, Kenny and I can work to get something scheduled to look into what we could do there.
Thank you, thank you. The Kent Narrows Bridge is kind of disgusting right now, but that's because people like to throw their stuff out the window, and it's just kind of hanging there.
Don't even get me started on that one. Litter's a big, big challenge. I'll just say, if you want to see what we've done, go to our social media page. We put out a video. Operation Clean Sweep was over the Labor Day period. Our funding levels, even with the new budget, is to support 4 to 6 week litter cycles. We went out and cleaned the entire state to like bare grass. We have before and after pictures to show that we did that, and went back a week later and have documentation like re-littered all over the place. So it's a very tough issue for us, and look for any help and support in educating the public to keep your litter in your car. Go to the Wawa, the Royal Farms, use their cans, wherever you got to go, just put it in a trash can, because we could do a lot more projects if we didn't have to pay so much for litter.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank Ken. He's a great partner. He's only told me no twice this month. But he said yes once, so I feel like, that's a 33%er, so I'll take it. But he's a good dude.
Very lucky to have him.
Right. How do you like your new job?
Terrific.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Are we gonna wait till 4:30, or are we just gonna roll right into it?
We should roll in. Let's roll into
Give us more time.
Good.
Closed session then.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, let's roll right into the delegation.
Yeah, Ken.
Down.
Come on up. Down, please. Yep, if you will.
$67. That's because they don't want you on. Is that the Dulles Toll Road?
Again, that's $3,700.
How you doing, Chris? Everything's good?
No, we had.
Daniel.
Yeah, good to see you too. Appreciate it.
I thought it was a misprint.
Thank you. Good seeing you again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not our easy pass. It's got one for the Eastern, Seacoast. No, it's a toll. It's a toll, yeah, that's the toll. Came through. Can you believe that shit? 37.
I've been on that road, and I'm
Oh, yeah.
County's from Somerville, Virginia.
Uh-huh.
I'm on that. I used to be on that road a lot. But the Dulles Toll Road,
does that mean? Hear ye, hear ye.
It means pay the fuck
In
attention.
other words, listen up.
No, I didn't.
It's the same dog and pony show every year. Every year.
Proceed.
All right. All right, this is the second part of our work session here, Commissioners, with our esteemed delegation. So we wanted to talk about some of our legislative initiatives for the upcoming General Assembly session next year. And I think we have a couple. We touched on those with the MDOT folks a little bit. We are concerned about the RADX camera enforcement at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. We've talked about that for a number of years, and also, you know, most recently, we've had a lot of accidents on the 301 corridor. Potentially want to discuss some enabling legislation that would allow us to provide speed cameras in those areas where we have high-speed crashes on the 301 corridor. Those are the two initiatives that we had, and we want to talk about some budget priorities as well. So you want to go ahead and touch on those, Commissioners?
Well, just real quick, so remember the Move Over campaign that they did?
Move Over.
When you've got a broken down car or law enforcement officer issuing a ticket,
there was
everybody
law
moved
passed.
over. That was an initiative that really took traction and really worked well. And the message made it statewide and of course into other states as well. And obviously the message was for for safety of law enforcement or folks that are broken down on the side of the road. Be courteous and move over. My point is the same method that they use to get that message out, they should use for the red X's and trucks on the westbound span during contraflow. I mean, it worked in a very short period of time, so whatever they did to make that work.
Well, they threatened
Yeah,
you with the
whatever they
ticket.
did. What did they do, and what would you suggest with the Red X? Tell me how that would work. Please move over? I'm being facetious, but it hasn't worked yet, and that's my point. That's why I'm looking for something to do. We talked a little bit about legislation for that. How do you prevent somebody from seeing you do it, and they don't do it? That's very difficult. Even if you get pulled over, you're being pulled over, the next 6 guys get waved around, and they escape it. There's got to be a method to that, and I don't know if the cameras are the answer. I don't know what the answer is, but the enforcement is very difficult to do at this point. And people just don't care about that red light. They just go up as far as they can.
Or maybe
suggestion to them.
they misunderstood the fact that it's, be ready, because when you get to the bridge, that lane's closed.
You know, I took my driver's test a long time ago, but I do know what a red light is. You know?
Anyway, I was just, there's got to
No,
be.
I appreciate that.
I mean, that was such an amazing campaign that took traction in such a short period of time. It just seems to me that whatever they did, try
I'm seeing
that.
that it's
What did he
much
pay us
better
tomorrow?
now.
It is getting better.
Yeah, I'm seeing it's much better now. I mean, I think the
What's
few-
much better?
not as many people in the red X lane. I see them going up in the yellow and then getting over right before the X. on
And
the
I'm sure,
gantry.
and I agree.
You know, and
I
that
agree.
being.
I'm sure there's people that have
That
been
being the
conditioned.
merge over place. Now, not to say 1 or 2 haven't, going through, but I see almost that last X being, okay, I can go to that X and merge there. It just appears what I'm seeing more of, but you're not seeing the same?
Oh, hell no.
I was just thinking, Jim.
More people get
depends on if
tagged.
the law
more
enforcement's been
people
out
You're
there.
seeing people run right through the red
Oh,
X?
absolutely.
Oh, they're going, and they're
Take it
going
all the way
all the
up
way
to
up
the-
to the end and
all the way
stop.
to the
I saw
gate.
there
Or
was,
they can't get
there was
in. All the
a
way to the
police
gate.
car, pulled over 2 of them, so.
Right, but you'll notice they're never there when it's raining or when there's a backup. They're never there. They're not pulling anybody over when it's inclement weather and when there's a backup and people are doing it. Because of safety reasons, they're concerned with, somebody gonna get plowed or whatever.
Right.
But it just doesn't happen. You'll see them there in the morning. Every morning they're there. And people just are not awake coming down the 50 coming east and they're in the wrong lane. I see them pull them over all the time. But when it counts, when you're sitting in that backup and you're like, I moved over, I'm in the middle lane or the right lane, and you can just count them. Probably put you to sleep like sheep. So, I'm 100% on board with, red X's and fines, 100%.
I don't condone my actions, but I just go over and straddle the line so they can't get by me. And then they got to get over.
Well, that's when you get somebody a little bit road rage-ish.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right, I can carry.
Well, you do, but
It's all good. That's it, I don't condone my
They
actions.
may carry bigger, but okay.
I don't condone my actions, but it works because the traffic keeps moving, so I mean, that's just the reality of life going across bridge every day.
But just to get off that a little bit for you, just because you heard, he wants to talk about it. We want to talk about the cameras for tractor trailers or trailers, and that would be part of it. We mentioned that there. So at least they're open to it, and they did, you know, Bruce did agree to sit down and meet. He wants to do
Oh,
something.
yeah.
So,
We put it, we put that bug in his ear, 3 months ago because of the fact that all the signs for the 5-ton and greater are right when you get, the first one going westbound you see is right at the Route 8 overpass. And then you don't see another one till you're actually on the bridge. And the one at the Route 8 overpass doesn't say 5-ton vehicles move over. It says, notice ahead for lane restrictions. That's what it says. And the very first sign is right there when you get on the Bay Bridge. And when traffic's heavy, putting it there, the guy's in the left lane, he's not gonna get over. Nobody's gonna get out of his way to let him get over. And that's why every night I come home, I drive that suicide lane, and I like to see how many of them are cresting the top of the bridge, because, another problem is people pulling motorhomes, people pulling boats, people pulling trailers. I mean, I was on the bridge on a Saturday coming home at 9 o'clock in the morning in contraflow, and 2 guys in a pickup truck behind me pulling a Bobcat were laughing and joking. I could see them, and I start to slow down, and I'm like, oh, they're not paying attention. They're not. And next thing they look up and see me, and they pulled right out into the middle lane. And if by the grace of God, there wasn't a vehicle there, because I'm telling you, their eyes were big then, and then they pulled back in behind me, but that wouldn't have been pretty, so.
Well, that's how the firefighter died. The trailer came off.
So, yes, I mean, they're all about safety, and this is all, what that is safety, and I'm for it 100%. Right, Phil?
Yes.
Thank you, Phil.
So we have to make a motion on this?
No.
On you fixing it?
Yeah.
well, like I said, I had the conversation with him. He's willing to sit down and talk.
Yeah.
I said I'd gladly go in there, but I'd rather have a bill that we agree on. You've seen that with our boat bills. You've seen those things.
Yeah.
If you don't have the department's agreement, that's one of the things we face. And
It just dies.
to Commissioner Corcorino's credit, we've solved a problem in the last couple of weeks by just keeping on it, so.
Good.
It only took 3 years, so just
3
keep
years.
at it. But it's true. I mean, it takes a while sometimes to
Yeah.
get these
Oh,
things
yeah.
done. Persistence, and working with the state agencies is the easier way to get something done.
But I will follow that up, I promise you, and I'm sure we'll support it.
Okay,
I think we'll.
good. What else?
Well, I think that's what we're talking about, whether or not you do speed cameras on 301 to try to reduce some of these incidents of the accidents, because that's just a dragway for people. They get up and they're going 90 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour down 301, and that's causing the accidents.
So here's the thing, let's go back 3 years.
Yeah.
CTP tour 3 years ago, rewind. We had this discussion about unclaimed fines and fees and all that for that kind
Right.
of stuff.
I do remember.
So what are we just gonna create another situation? Because these people, here's the reality, the people that are hitting our locals are not from here. They're from out of state. That's the bottom line. That's why I pushed for the light, because another reason I thought about it after our meeting, if you cross that highway and get hit and get T-boned, it's your fault, right? So not only are you dead, but now your family's gonna suffer the consequences of having to pay for that liability. If there's a red light there and somebody runs a red light and hits somebody, it's the person that ran the red light's fault. So again, there's just so many reasons it makes sense. I just came across 50 from Talbot County. There's 3 lights there on a major interstate. I was told you can't have them there. There's 3 of them, right at 404, which is another major highway. So I just don't get it. And they're all at-grade intersections, by the way. No different than what we're dealing with up there. I mean, I'm just not gonna get off the fact that there should be a red light put there until they come up with a viable solution to slow the traffic and make the crossing for the locals and our emergency services at that point viable. So that's just one guy though.
That's enforcement like on 301. Whose job is that?
MSP, and now the sheriff has an agreement to also be able to do enforcement on 301, and they have been actively.
But the sheriff could never stop people on 301?
It was always a sketchy area, my understanding.
We had to have a reason, a cause.
Right,
If he has cause, he can stop it.
One of the problems, and this goes back to everything we're talking about right now, is the ability to enforce the law.
Right.
And that's very difficult, because if you start tagging in 20, if you tag 50 people coming across that Bay Bridge in that red light lane, tomorrow's a
condition
different day. But, then it goes back to that, but enforcement has to step up on some of these things, and that might be the answer. Remember, we haven't had these problems all our life. I mean, I know traffic has increased, But what's the thing that's changed? I'm not sure, maybe more enforcement, letting other people, the jurisdictions, like you said, the sheriff's got an agreement where we can police that also, and then to see what the dollars and cents. The biggest problem you run in, if you find people, that dollars and cents doesn't necessarily come back to you.
Right.
Well, we know that.
That's a big issue.
Right. Well, I mean, again, where that money goes, it might be a big issue, but we're trying to stop people from doing it.
Well, yes, I agree with that, but you're also increasing your cost to do that. And that's where these things, I think we need to get flexible. We ran into that problem with people going through Galena up north when the 301 opened up, the Delaware opened up that part of it. They were going through those towns, and we actually talked about adding police to, who was it, Galena? Was the police up there? About adding
Cecilton
that.
and Galena.
But trying to fund those extra police officers it didn't work because all that fine money goes to the state.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a consideration. I'm not saying it's a stopper, but it's a consideration.
I mean, it's a fight, I think that's a fight worth fighting in Annapolis,
Which one?
that one.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these
Where
fine
the money
dollars
goes,
coming
yeah.
back to the jurisdictions in which those tickets were written.
Well, your majority of your tickets are going to be on the Anne Arundel County side.
Well, I'm just saying, but the problem is you talk about funding for these extra law enforcement efforts to catch these folks, and then you're incurring the cost to have those police officers, but you're not getting any of the revenue generation, if you want to call it revenue, from the tickets that are written. It's all going to the state. I just think some of those dollars need to come back to the jurisdictions where the ticket was written.
Well, but I guess I'm confused because your Red X camera is your enforcement. I mean, if you got that.
Well,
up
I'm
there,
not,
people-
I'm not, okay, so I'm not talking about just the Red X. I'm talking about 301. And
right.
in other words, it doesn't necessarily have to be the Red X enforcement. It just could be anywhere. If we're trying to beef up law enforcement present in an area where we believe that there's some traffic and fatality issues, then that's going to cost money to have extra law enforcement officers concentrating and focusing on that area.
But again, those
We get
cameras will do that. I mean, when those construction workers got killed on the Baltimore Beltway, and then they put up there, they got those cameras now.
Oh, yeah.
And let me
Yep.
tell you something, nobody is speeding in those construction zones.
No, I agree.
Matter of fact, they're irritating me because they're going that slow, but, yeah, I mean, it works.
$250.
Yeah, I mean, it works. You put that up there, I don't know.
Big stick makes it.
Well, they got it up by the bridge in Millington at their work, the one that's taken 4 years to build
Yeah,
up there.
yeah.
They got it up there too, so I'm sure.
Record, yes. What else you want to talk about?
Me? Whatever you want to talk about,
Yeah,
Commissioner.
it seems like
I'm here
you
for
got
you.
it. He's got it.
Did you mention capital projects? Did you say something about capital or bond projects?
No.
Well, capital projects, we still want to see the advancement of the design funding for the regional detention center. That got pulled out. As you know, we had money lined up for a single county project here that got clawed back over $16 million, I believe, in favor of our regional effort. Now, I know Caroline's sort of on the fence now, but Kent County's still solidly on board with the regional jail, at least between the two counties. Hopefully Caroline can get back on board, but we still don't have that next phase design money for, and we want to see, hopefully get that advanced, next fiscal year through DBM and Department of Public Safety and Corrections. That's a big one for us. We're ready to go on that effort. So
We were in
whatever
Caroline
you can
last
do.
week. It doesn't sound like they're on the fence anymore.
Well,
Sounds like they're off the fence.
sounds like they're off the fence, yeah, I agree, yeah.
And on the other side.
And on the other side.
Okay.
We're not quite sure why that is, but we're still going to talk to them some more
Way
about
back
it.
there.
But
Yeah,
still,
but I think if we continue to move forward with it, and I think we can provide them some more details, they may revisit that.
Okay.
Was there anything else?
well, if you want to talk about the pedestrian bridge, we got that coming up. That's going to be another big project for us if there's any opportunities for funding for that project. We're doing a pretty comprehensive evaluation, 4 different options of a pedestrian bridge over 50 in the vicinity of the Bay Bridge to connect our 2 trail systems together. And that's going to be unveiled here end of this year. We have a public information meeting October 24th, I believe it is, to present 4 different options. And we want to pursue, allocations, to get that moving forward to connect,
Over
the
the
South
years,
Trail
there's been talk
across
with
South Trail.
developers about doing that. When you guys gave up, took the airport property and all that stuff, and the property behind Target. There was talk about developers helping with that, wasn't there?
I know Walt Petrie had said, look, get me my sewer allocation for my apartment complexes right there, and I'll build you your pedestrian crossover, but
But that was just a comment there. I thought there was conversations about it, real conversations about who was going to.
I haven't heard anything.
No.
You guys have any grant money in that at all?
You know
Program
any?
Open Space, USDA, I mean, there's a lot of funding opportunities out
Yeah,
there.
we've submitted through our federal partners. Everybody likes the project, but we just never got over that hump to get those dollars. Now, this study is going to really hopefully solidify the location, the final location, the best location with SHA, MDOT, of course, our constituents here, our county commissioners, and we're hoping that that's going to bridge that gap. So whatever, we can do or you guys can do to help us to secure some dollars for that, it would be a great effort, yeah.
Do we know the cost?
How much?
We're going to have a better idea of the cost once the evaluation is done, but it's not going to be an inexpensive project for sure,
So
We still-
Big crossing.
Will part of the design of this take into account the landing spot for the replacement bridges, so that we don't build it
That's,
somewhere that's
no,
gonna be
that
torn
was
down?
what the
or
meeting was about. All the agencies are together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a spot that's not gonna interfere with any corridor upgrades or anything?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Yes.
yeah, the firm that's doing the evaluation is the same firm that's doing the Bay Bridge alternative evaluation, so they're fully on board, so they know what.
K&K.
RK&K, yeah, doing a great job, so.
So the BMC's flipping the bill for all this.
Yeah, the BMC is
Which side of Route
grant
8 were
funded.
you going on?
Which,
Are they going to recommend that? Which side of Route 8 is that bridge going to go on?
the pedestrian bridge? It's either gonna go from Love Point Park over to Pier 1 Road. That's option 1. Up on top of the Route 8 overpass is option 2. Option 3 is by Target. But option 3 ends without no trail connection at either end of it. And then option 4 is Cracker Barrel, where we have the trailhead over to Stevensville Middle School, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Stevens.
That's right.
Yeah, and which we have another trailhead because the library's right there.
Costs got to be all over the board on that, right?
Well,
Steve, you want to add anything?
Yeah, they're going to be expensive projects, there's no question about that, depending on which option is selected, but the preferred options, I believe, are the one that goes over from Terrapin to Pier 1 Road, and then the one farthest to the east, which connects over near in the vicinity of the library and the school systems. But that has to go across Thompson Creek as well, so there's another component
Correct.
for a pedestrian
You got Route 8 to worry
bridge.
about crossing on the other.
well, no, we have another pedestrian bridge there too.
Oh, so you got two.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a much easier one. So that would be by the
So you
airport.
guys know, the way the state budget process works, if you're looking for a big chunk of money, it would have to be within one of the department's capital budget. For us to be able to help you, like in the miscellaneous section of the budget or like bond bills and that sort of thing, we probably won't be able to get more than a couple $100,000 at a time for you. And that's assuming that the political climate doesn't change.
Well, the next phase, once we get the study done, is going to be the design effort, so every little bit helps, so we'll certainly discuss that with you, and I'll send you, copies of our alternatives, and
We'll be happy to
please
help
join
any way
us,
we can.
for the public information meeting. That's the 24th at the Kent Island Library, so it should be.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yeah. Should be good.
So what are we expecting this legislative session for relief on energy costs? I mean, I appreciate the governor giving us our money back as a credit. That was
Got your $40 back.
That was very nice. And was able to buy a
Forgot to
couple
mention-
Are
lottery
you being
tickets.
sarcastic right now, just now?
Yes.
Okay.
Forgot to mention, he diverted $230 million into the general
Which could have
fund.
gone towards energy improvement projects. something
Improvements,
like
could have
that.
gone ratepayer assistance, could have been given back, as we suggested through floor amendments. But no, I think energy will still be one of the biggest issues we face next year, on top of the budget. We'll still have budget issues. But, truthfully, the policies that they created last year did not really do anything to improve energy generation. Obviously, the one bill that had to deal with the siting of solar projects made a lot of counties very angry. I was just at a utility conference last week down at Cambridge, and that's still one of the big issues that are being talked about as far as, how overreaching that bill ended up becoming, as far as what that was happening. But, until they embrace natural gas and the ability to use natural gas for electric generation projects, we're probably not going to see anything in the state of Maryland. The PSC has an RFP out right now to solicit proposals to build energy generation. But again, if you use gas, you have to agree to transfer to hydrogen when that technology becomes available, whenever that is. So, try to build that into your business model. It's a little difficult. They still believe that solar and batteries are going to get it done. As a result, we'll continue to have to build huge transmission projects so we can import fossil fuel generated electricity from Pennsylvania and Virginia. So, yeah, so that's the,
And we'll be competing more and more with data centers in the future.
well, again.
That's the other
Are gonna use more
Data
energy.
data center
Data centers.
developers are, for all the conversation you hear about, blaming this on data centers, I can assure you, data center developers are not looking at Maryland.
No,
Yeah,
I know
no,
they're not.
They are looking at Pennsylvania.
Correct,
They
and that's
are
where we
looking
get
at
our energy
Virginia
from,
and
so
places
we're going to be
like that,
competing with
of
them on
course.
price.
But, this governor has found that nothing is his fault. Everything is somebody else's fault. Yesterday, it was PJM's fault. PJM is a grid operator. They're not responsible for generation. PJM is supposed to be able to somehow find a way to take 13 different state energy policies and then make sure that everybody has enough supply when they need it.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy for the governor to end up blaming somebody that really doesn't have oversight of the generation aspects of it. So, that's what's going on from there. Pennsylvania will continue to attract data centers up there because they have in-state generation. It will get more and more expensive. I mean, the rising cost of energy has not even begun to increase the way
Right.
that it's going to.
That's the scary part.
Yeah, we're going to see, again, the capacity auctions last year went up ninefold. It'll do it again next year. Everybody that pays Empower, again, will go up, I think another $13 annually or monthly for Empower. We are going to take a shot at trying to pull back on Empower. I mean, I think a lot of us that have seen this program for a number of years has recognized it's kind of gone through its life cycle, that the initial low-hanging fruit of light bulbs and energy efficient appliances is about worn out. People have those, or they're going to just continue, they're going to buy them whether there's rebates for them or not. So we might be able to pull back on that. But, if you're a BGE customer, and I know not here per se, but the two fossil fuel generating facilities that are in Anne Arundel County that said they were going to shut down, Wagner and Brandon Shores, are being forced to stay open now, but under what's called an RMR, or Reliability Must Run Agreement, which essentially says you need to be available to operate when the grid operator calls them, but in that short period of time, you can recoup all the costs it takes you to be open for the entire year, to be ready whenever we need you. And so it is the absolute most expensive energy that can come onto the grid. And again, that would be passed through to customers. And I think that's probably a 3-year RMR agreement until that new transmission project is built. Not the Piedmont reliability one that everybody has a problem with, but this is the other one that's coming from Pennsylvania through the existing BGE lines that'll cost ratepayers about $1.8 billion.
So assuming they would let it go forward, what's the timeline to get like a new power generation facility online in Maryland?
So gas is a little bit quicker, based on how close you are to the pipelines, but, gas turbines are at least a little bit more available that will come on site. You're looking at distributed energy, so you're looking at smaller pockets, not necessarily microgrids, but you're doing something like Wildcat that was up in Cecil County, where you can, bring a gas-fired generation plant and get electricity from that. The governor's talking about embracing nuclear as though that's an option. It's not an option at this point in time.
Micronuclear.
Well, micronuclear, everybody's talking about small modular reactors. There's, many of the conferences I go, they're still mid-30s. There's, 5, 7 years away, from getting something that's scalable and producible, that you're actually, believe me, if small modular reactors come online and are available, AWS will take everyone. Okay, that's where you'll see where the data center, the big hyperscalers will go after, and they'll buy every single thing that's out there, and they'll generate their own electricity. So by the time they get out to market and are helping our grid, the gentleman from PJM says Maryland is in an energy crisis in 2 years. Small modular reactors are not going to help this. So, that's something that's out there, but, there's just been too much diversion, I think, from the General Assembly in saying, hey, we've done something because we've embraced nuclear now. And, there's been one nuclear power plant that's been built in the United States in the last 15 years, and it took 12 years to build it in Georgia.
Georgia, yeah.
And it was billions of dollars over budget. There's nobody, standing in line to build. You think there's problems with trying to site a solar project. Well, wait till somebody decides that they want to build a nuclear power plant.
That always goes over well.
In Montgomery County and Poolsville on the Potomac River. You think there'll be any complaints about that, or the PSC's just because, yeah, rubber stamp that one, that's good. It's just not going to happen.
I think the SMRs will be a little less that way. But real quick, so while we're in this train of thought, so you guys know we did a Class 1 soils impact fee, basically using the MALF formula. We've got no pushback on that, so I think other counties are actually going to hop on board with that. But going a step further to the whole data center thing, one thing we don't have statewide that I think is important, if it comes from the state, just like other planning and zoning stuff, if a data center wants to come here, you got to require them to co-locate their power with them. They got to bring their own power. I mean, because if you allow a data center to drop in, like you have the one out in Frederick, if they're co-locating, and I know that's a challenge, but you know what? Oh, well, that's price doing business. They're doing it up at 3 Mile Island, Microsoft and all. So my whole point is if the zoning said you have to co-locate a power plant to support, then that power's not coming off the grid. So that's one less headache we have there.
But the problem is Maryland's a deregulated state when it comes to supply. So these are merchant generators. It's their power plants. It's for them to sell electricity to whoever they want.
Right, but this would be a zoning for building, right? Because this is development at this point. If you're developing a data center, we only have one in the state right now of any size, and it's not even built. It's going to go out in Frederick.
Right.
I mean, they could have headed off the pass then. But that's a whole nother issue, obviously, and I'd rather you leave it at local zoning. That way we could zone it out here if we wanted to.
Right.
But the other thing is for fire suppression. So the other thing we're looking at is we're probably going to do an ordinance here that's going to require the developers of solar or battery, depending on what they bring, to supply us with fire suppression equipment for those sites, and also training for our volunteers across the system, because if one of those things catches up where all of those areas are, granted it's not super populated, but the plume is the danger. Obviously, where that plume goes, making sure you're warning people and all that kind of stuff. So just so you know, and I don't know if the state...
We made that same suggestion in Caroline County last week.
And I was just there today, and we talked about it, because we had talked about it prior.
Very much on that. And I did talk to some people last week at this utility conference, and there didn't seem to be anything that said that you couldn't do that. A requirement to build in Queen Anne's County or Caroline County would require, a certain, I think they're talking about RM 855, or no.
It's got to be NFPA 855.
NFPA, sorry, NFPA. It was in rulemaking something, but they talked about PSC adopting that. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't increase the standard. It doesn't also mean that you couldn't, as a condition of permitting, make the developer contribute a certain amount of money to making sure that you have the appropriate equipment to put out those fires. And I think, you guys know what happened at Fort Season, and we've got a beautiful volunteer fire department there as a result. I don't know if that was a special taxing district or how that actually got done, but the fact that all of those lots paid into a fire response fee or whatever that was, there's probably something along the lines that you could do as well with a solar development project that seeks to have battery storage.
Yeah, I'm just asking, 'cause we'll do it locally.
Yeah.
It's just going to be what's going to happen when it gets to the state, and obviously just giving you a heads up that that's going to, huh?
I'm going to do legislation on that.
Are you? Okay. So would you rather us wait to do our ordinance, or
No,
go ahead and do it?
No.
Okay.
Keep
Do it, and it's probably going to get decided in courts anyways, just like the case with the PSC in Washington County. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to life safety and you being responsible
Yeah, we have a
for
lot more discussion.
anything that happens with this, the fact that we run off of, we're very fortunate that we run off of volunteer fire departments that don't have necessarily the ability to get the appropriate equipment to it.
Right.
You make a condition of building these in our locations. I'm still think that there is a potential discrepancy on whether, battery storage is generation, and
Technically, it's not.
Technically, it's not, and that's how the solar, all the solar projects got under the jurisdiction of the PSC, as they became.
generation,
It's generation.
But I don't know that battery storage is generation. And I think you'll see that probably in courts too. But I think, as we told Commissioner Porter, somebody's going to have to challenge. Somebody's going to have to be the first one that says, you know what, if you want to do a project here, this is what we need from you. These are the costs. They're reasonable costs. They're life safety costs. We have to make sure that if something happens, first and foremost, you have a fire suppression system that's on site that can handle this. But if that fails, that we have the appropriate equipment that can put this out before it becomes a bigger issue.
Okay, good, good.
One little thing with the PJM, when you go to the PJM, you know what they're actively seeking? Gas providers.
Yeah.
When we sit back, what are you gonna do for Maryland? They said, solar, you can't build enough, you can't build it fast enough. And they're sitting there, when they have it, and they're closing them. I mean, they're seeing them close. He said, but that's what we're actually going out there and soliciting people to actually do a gas generation plant. We can't do that here.
We're going to do one in Caroline County, 3 years ago? I mean,
remember that one?
Chesapeake Utilities wanted to run a pipeline from Cecil County down to Somerset County, and they were going to have a power plant. They acquired the land contingent on this thing being built, and PGM came and said, well, we can't get you in the queue because you're going to have to upgrade the grid. And that's the issue that we have now with any sort of power generation on the Eastern Shore, is that our grid can't handle it. We have 100 kV, and the biggest we have are 250 kV lines. We don't have we don't have a single 500 kV line anywhere on the Eastern Shore, and so we're looking at billions of dollars of upgrades in order for us to be able to do any significant power generation on the Eastern Shore. So we're working on it. Our team and some others are working through Congressman Harris's office and the administration to try to leverage some federal funding. So can't make any public announcements other than that at this point, but we do have some commitments.
Well, not to mention, part of the thing is, and we know it, we've been doing this now for, at least in Queen Anne's, it's been a thing for 8 years, is that underneath the transmission line is the only real cost-effective way to do it.
Yep.
But what you're gonna see is, and you've got like the Maryland Farm Bureau, and a lot of farmers here in Queen Anne's and surrounding counties are digging their heels in now and saying, you know what, I've heard all this bad stuff about leasing my land for solar or selling my land for solar, that they're actually thinking twice about it. And if they don't sell out underneath those lines, now we're going outside that 2-mile perimeter from the lines to where now you've got to build intermediate transmission to get it back, right? So now this is when you get into almost a baby PRD, whatever the one is out there in West, where you're going to have to go take farmland anyway to put these intermediate poles up, which are probably 80-foot cross poles. So you're going to get into I guess, a smaller sense of what they're dealing with out there. But once they get to 2030, or we get close to that deadline when we're supposed to be 80% or whatever it is, they're going to get more desperate. And I worry, and obviously from the MACO side and trying to keep county government local, we lost the fight on the solar this year for the most part in terms of the county autonomy. And then the next one that's coming, you guys know it's coming up this term, and fell apart last time, is housing. And then if they come in and start telling counties, hey, this is where you've got to put houses, then we might as well not even sit up here, because at that point, basically, the state's doing everything for us.
When they start seeing rollouts, blackouts and brownouts in Montgomery and Prince George's County and Baltimore City, I think their opinions about solar is going to change very quickly, because it's having a direct impact on
Yeah, let's
families.
hope till then.
But unfortunately, that may be too late, so.
It will be too late by then.
That's the problem, as Senator Hershey was saying, the lead time to get the
No,
power
we
generation
all
up
know
and
that.
running.
Everybody knows that's in the game, knows that, but it's.
Well, they'll raise the cost enough that it'll get to them quick sooner than later. The price is going up, and it's, like he said, it's just gonna skyrocket, it's continuing. You can afford it, he can afford it, but the people that at least can afford it, we seem to find that we'll use Empower, we'll use CEF, we'll use those dollars to actually help fund that.
I'm hooked in my neighbor's house.
We
right
are
now.
trying to be proactive. I will say that we are trying to be proactive on the Eastern Shore, and we will be partnering with our local governments at some point. We just have to get more commitments. I know Commissioner Moran, a little bit more probably than others doing that.
This is the biggest focus in my committee is energy. And it's an uphill battle, because we just keep getting fraught with all this stuff. I mean, when you have the PSC come in and they start talking mindlessly, and you ask them, well, how do you assign the profit margin to, say, an Exelon or to the next provider? I said, are they all set fee? And they said, well, no, not really. I said, well, you set the rate that they can charge. They're a business that when they need their infrastructure done, they come in for another rate. Every other business you've ever dealt with actually prepares. If you own a restaurant, you go out and you buy your own equipment. You do this, you're preparing for getting bigger. But we seem to be able to find a way, and yet, I mean, God bless them, it's capitalism, but they're making billions of dollars in profit. And what we're doing with that profit is we're trying to say to give some back. Who's talking? It's,
Sorry about that.
It's a
hey,
TV.
hey, it's a vicious circle. It's like,
Has anyone gotten any calls about insurance or homeowners policy being raised because of the ISO rating? Anybody? I am.
I've gotten calls about roofs, the age of your roof.
No, this is, I had an increase of like $1,400 or $1,600 on my homeowners policy, and they said it's because the insurance, whatever that formula is they use for firefighters in the houses.
That's your
it's gone up-
protection
it's gone
class.
up.
Yeah.
They're
Your
rating
protection
went from a
class.
5 to a 9, and I'm like, well, nothing changed. The closest one to me, Graysonville.
You know, waterfront properties will run into that, trying to get insurance on waterfront properties, because you don't have that fire hydrant at the end of the road. And when you ask them, what about the bay, what about the river, what about that, it becomes a moot point. But they're actually, you're trying to find insurance for your waterfront's getting more and more difficult, just because of the way access to get that water to the fire.
Well, I guess.
They have pumper trucks.
Well, I guess the concern is if there's a rating system and it changes, what changed? I mean, this is the first time it's gone up that much in 7 or 8 years.
Well,
Population,
so-
you added a bunch of houses, which makes more places where things could happen, which could slow response times. That would be mine, because Perry's Retreat, just up from you, just opened. All those houses were built in the last couple of years, so.
So basically that it's determining a fire protection class. The response time to the fire department, is it 5 miles or less from your home? And is there a fire hydrant that they can hook up to? I think what they've done is they've just simply changed the rates. So if you've got a fire protection class 3, you're in good shape because you have all the things that you need. But if you've got a fire protection class 9 because you don't have a fire hydrant or a responding fire department within 5 miles, it's just their way of taking rate on your homeowner's insurance policy.
Nothing has changed. That's my
I-
point. Nothing has changed.
What's
So they
changed-
shouldn't
what's
say that
changed
it's
is
not
their-
ISO, it's
what-
that they're just raising their rates.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's their ability to raise your rates
Right.
without having to go to the Maryland State Insurance Commission and say, we want to take rate in this zip code.
Right.
So they just changed the cost unit for the fire protection class that you sit in. And that's how your homeowner's insurance has gone up.
And by the way, your insurance company did go to the insurance commissioner, and they approved the rate increase. And it's every insurance company, and it's inflation.
Yeah, they
It's also-
justified it with
it's
the cost
also
of rebuilding
crime.
and,
For housing and for cars being jacked, it's also crime. It's a number of things.
8 life grand.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
You guys are easy.
Delegate, do you want, we need funding for the 3rd floor of the Chestertown Hospital.
You were in that last meeting with Delegate Pena Melinek, the chairwoman from HGO, and she asked us to try to find some federal money first. And I think that's where we are, or sort of a sort of old geopolitical thing in Maryland. It's getting more difficult. It's gonna be more difficult for us to get
That's
money.
a typical response right now. You know, the administration's cutting funding for healthcare. You want something from the state, go to the feds.
Yeah, well, this is a state of Maryland problem. It's not the federal problem.
But we're only talking about $5 million. So what he's referring to is, I mean, we've been trying to, the state, and well, mainly the state. I know that when I first came in, I served on the health subcommittee on appropriations, and I remember Delegate Kirill Resnick at the time, that was his top priority, was to deal with these youth overstays in hospitals. And during that time, BHA and Department of Health did absolutely nothing to move the needle whatsoever. And thanks certainly to your leadership on this one issue, we have an opportunity to partner with Shore Regional Health and a behavioral health, I guess a company out of Western Maryland.
Brookline.
And so it'll be a continuance of care from inpatient to the Whitsitt Center, and then it'll be outpatient. And then we have the opportunity to do this for just $5 million. It would be foolish of us to pass up on this opportunity at this point, I believe. And so we're working very strongly on that. So we'll do our very best. If we can't get federal money, then we're gonna do our best to make sure that we try to carve out somewhere in the budget, because this isn't just a Eastern Shore. It's not just a Queen Anne's or Kent County project. This is a statewide project where we'll see kids from all over Maryland come.
What do we do about operational?
That's it has to. I don't have an answer to that.
So we spoke, Administrator and I met with Cecil County, so please have a conversation with Dan, Todd's counterpart up there, just so we're all on the same page, please.
Well, this company from Western Maryland, I mean, did they answer that question? I've not met with them personally. I think you've met with them. Have they talked about being able to cash flow the operations of this?
That was the cash flow. The $1.5 million to $2 million a year negative is after private and public reimbursement. And the problem really is that Medicaid reimbursement sucks to the point where it doesn't pay for that patient to be in the facility for that day. It doesn't even cover the cost per day per patient.
Well, the
So
state
that-
operating money, as you know,
that's-
is only $25 million, and it goes to the Mid-Shore Behavioral Health Association, and then they divvy that money out to the various states. So the BHA's already told us that they're not going to increase that $25 million. That Mid-Shore Behavioral Health Association can change the way they allocate that money, but they're going to have to sort of create the same model as like For All Seasons, Crossroads, some of these other nonprofits that are out there providing behavioral health, already on the Eastern Shore. That's probably the only way this is going to work from an operating perspective.
Yeah. I think another way to approach this, I mean, it's kind of all of the above, Senator, is the Medicaid spending per child that's stuck in an emergency room because of a mental health breakdown. That cost needs to come into a projection of how we could actually shift the cost from Easton, Anne Arundel, Johns Hopkins to a dedicated youth and mental and behavioral hospital at Chestertown, kind of as the hub, the mothership of mental health, so to speak. And if we can show, and we do have the numbers, it's about $2,000 per child of private insurance reimbursement in the ER, and it's a little less than that from Medicaid because they always pay less than private insurance. But that money's already being spent, so we just need to, if we can shift it, show it financially shifted to at Chestertown, it may not be as much money as $2
I'd say
million
delegate.
on operational that we're talking about.
I think we should probably lean on Delegate Hutchison for that. That's his committee.
Yeah.
And any legislation that'd be required as far as insurance reimbursement, so that's a monster in itself, and that's what they live and breathe that stuff all year long on that committee. So I would very strongly suggest that we let him take the lead on any legislation.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough for taking this seriously. It's a big deal for our kids.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else? I just had one clarification. The pedestrian bridge meeting, public information meeting is October 23rd, Thursday, the 23rd, 6 p.m. I mentioned the wrong date earlier, but October 23rd, 6 p.m., Kent Island Library, and we'll get invitations sent out.
And October 20th is the SHA Town Hall.
SHA Town Hall for the 405-301.
And location for that? Do we know?
Price.
I didn't get a location for
Yeah,
that.
Price Community Center.
Price Community Center? Okay.
Price Community Center, yeah.
All right.
Yep.
If it's still standing.
I have it. Somebody sent me something out for the library. That's where it's on
That's
the
the pedestrian.
23rd.
That's the library, at the pedestrian bridge
Pedestrian crossing,
town
yeah.
hall. Yeah, we'll get there.
So-
Okay, good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
All
gentlemen.
right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Yeah,
Good
great to see you.
fight, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Really.
Are you guys done? Are you done?
Call the meeting to order.
Okay, welcome everybody, and welcome to the Queen Anne's County Commissioners meeting. This is a public meeting that is being aired live on our local cable television station, QACTV 7. These media broadcasts provide county citizens an opportunity to watch and review our scheduled public meetings. In addition to our live audience this evening, we are providing remote options for citizens to watch and participate in county commissioner meetings. Citizens may watch our meetings live at our website at qac.org/live or on our public access governmental television channel provided by Breezeline Cable Services. Citizens may also participate by joining the live Zoom meeting by going to qac.org/public comment. And citizens may also email comments to publiccomment@qac.org, and all comments received will be summarized during the press and public comment period on tonight's agenda. We acknowledge everyone's participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and re-aired. Press and public comment will be taken and is limited to 3 minutes. If you do care to speak, please sign up at the information table in the lobby. Comments longer than 3 minutes can be submitted in writing for the Commissioner's review. We will now stand and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commission President Chris Corcorino.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Commissioners, brings us to the today's agenda. So the agenda for today's meeting, September 23rd, together with the regular session minutes and the closed session minutes from the September 9th meeting, have been circulated for your review. Any additions and/or corrections?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to add 2 additional desk items to tonight's agenda.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I will make a motion to accept the agenda as amended and all the minutes as submitted.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. So we just completed a closed session under the General Provisions Article, Section 3305B1 for personnel, and I do believe we have a
Yes, we do.
announcement, please.
I move that the County Administrator and Human Resources Director be authorized to offer the respective positions to Annie Sparks as Director of Aging and Transportation and Michael Clark as Executive Director, Housing and Family Services.
Second. Probably need to have a little discussion about this one.
Yeah. Just a wee bit? What do you think? You guys want, come on.
Come on
yeah.
up here. Can we ask like interview questions?
Sure, yeah.
Ask whatever you want,
What do you
yeah.
think?
One looks happy, one doesn't look so happy.
Raise
It's
your
like, wait,
right hand.
nobody told me
More
how to do this.
responsibility.
That's not part of my job description. So, you guys are ready for the challenge, right?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to all of you commissioners. Todd Mon, County Administrator. A special shout out to our director for very many decades, Kathy Willis, who will be retiring in December, and we'll miss her greatly. And also a thank you to our staff who really truly make these departments what they are.
Wow.
You want to explain the department names now, Mike?
And I'm like the guy at the Emmys when the person in front of him says all
And the winner is?
You gotta get to your seat and talk first, that's the key, yeah.
No, but all seriousness, I've said this before, it's just, I feel it's an honor to work for this county. The commissioners have been great, the citizens treat us great, and the co-workers, Kathy's been wonderful, and it's just, for me, it's an honor, and I appreciate it, and I just hope I do a good job.
Well, we are extremely blessed to have your talent and other talents throughout our county. I mean, that's one thing as commissioners, we've got it made pretty easy because we don't ever hear problems. And if we do hear problems,
Well,
you know what I mean. I said an if in there, I put an if in there, you know, so. But be that as it may, it's an honor. It really is. And looking forward to many years of the two of you sitting in those positions. So thank you.
I can remember my first term, Mike, your hair was dark, as was mine.
That's cold.
It's cold and thinner, so. Thanks, thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate
Yep,
it.
no worries. And you've done an amazing job as long as I've known you. So I know that we can speak on behalf of the constituency that, as commissioners to the constituency, we're in good hands with you, Dew, at the helm, for sure.
And as for Kathy
Congrats.
giving up after just 31 years,
Yeah.
I got nothing for her.
Yeah, we won't go there that she's a quitter.
Right.
Couldn't make the 35.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
There we go.
Kathy, best of luck to you.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you both. Okay, press and public comment. So we appreciate all citizens taking time to express views to the county commissioners. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments longer than 3 minutes can be submitted in writing. This commission respects everyone's desire to convey their message freely. When you come forward, please speak clearly at the standing microphone. State your name, your address, and your topic of interest, and in keeping with the dignity of our office, we ask that all views be expressed in a respectful and civil manner.
John Ramsey.
I'm John Ramsey. My address is 140 Bright Meadow Lane, Chestertown. That's in northern Queen Anne County. So, and I'm here to express my opposition to 287G, the infamous agreement with ICE, which is being considered. In July, a representative from ICE met with the Republican committee, and he was promoting the idea that signing 287G would be a good thing for the county, rounding up violent criminals and making the county safe. But the executive branch of the United States is tasked ICE with fulfilling their promise of mass deportation. And we know that in addition to the aforementioned criminals, ICE is targeting people using profiling and heavy intimidation. There's a case in Talbot County, which I'm sure you're aware of, about the pastor who was picked up while he was shopping at Lowe's and was detained in Louisiana. And also there was a young man that was driving his wife to a medical appointment. She was pregnant, and they broke out the windows of the car to apprehend them, or him. At any rate, but this is probably only the beginning as we get more and more ICE agents, thanks to $35 billion being added to the budget for ICE agents. And so we're going to be inundated with probably thousands of, I don't know if Queen Anne's County is going to get thousands, but I'm sure there'll be an uptick in ICE enforcement in the county. Signing 287G, I'm sure it would have financial implications for the county. Sheriff Hoffman has probably looked at all of that and probably has an assessment of the situation. But back in July, Sheriff Hoffman had this statement in response to the ICE presentation to the Republicans. As a sheriff, my commitment is to foster a safe environment for all members of our community, regardless of their citizenship status. We recognize the complexities of immigration laws and the impact they can have on federal funding. Our priority is to protect our citizens from gangs, criminals, and violent offenders, while also showing compassion and support for our immigrant community. It's essential to strike a balance between enforcing the law and understanding the diverse backgrounds that make our community vibrant. I believe that signing 287G would make it very difficult to carry out that very good mission that the sheriff is stated right here. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel McHugh.
Hello, thank you. President Corcorino and Vice President DeMel and Commissioner Wilson and the rest of the commissioners as well. I'm not here to speak about 287G like I did last time. This time I'm here. I've sent commissioners a letter this morning about the issue of municipal and county zoning and permitting authority. It is largely being stripped away by Annapolis. These things have been happening for a while. I know Commissioner Wilson, as the president of MACO, you're very familiar with these things and subjects. But, you know, they started with zoning reform in the legislature. Secretary of Housing Day and Governor Moore worked very hard on this to push more affordable housing around the state. Especially, you know, if you strip away the power from the counties and the municipalities, you can do it a lot easier. And then the second step, they created this state permitting board on December 20th, 2024, 5 days before Christmas, when nobody was paying attention, you know, to give the, you know, developers and builders and folks a sweetheart Christmas gift deal. And this new board that's been created is run by the governor. The Secretary of Planning for the whole state, Rebecca Flora, is the chair. This team, this power structure is the mayor of Baltimore City. Brandon Scott avoided his vice mayor, who Mr. Williams, who is now being deemed as the permit czar around the state. So this man is going to be the enforcer to make sure that all these things happen all across the state. And then Secretary Day put Julia Glanz on this board, his top operative when he was the mayor of Salisbury, who now works for him in the housing department. So what I'm trying to do, and I'm hoping the Queen Anne's County Commissioners and other municipalities and counties around the state, we got to work, you know, I'm trying to work on a guardrail / protection for this, you know, in case there are issues of implementation, which I'm sure there will be. And what we're seeing around the state is that's happening all the time. Like the Piedmont Reliability Project down in Western Maryland, which has been a disaster and lawsuits. The offshore wind disaster between Ocean City and Worcester County and Sussex County, Delaware, where there's been lawsuits. There's a big fight going on in Cecil County right now about a solar farm. You know, and then there's even in Prince George's County, just happened, a data center where a bunch of angry folks in Landover are protesting that. And the county council shockingly took action and at least put a kibosh on it for a while to do a study. So the bottom line is this: I think we need to work on more protections, and guardrails is the term that the buzzword all the research I've been doing and reading, so we can, you know, better communication and collaboration between the counties, the municipalities, and the states, so when these implementations happen, you can try to work them out without ending up in court, because that's what seems to keep happening. Anyway, I respectfully thank the commissioners for their time, and I hope you consider looking into this, and thank you.
Thank you. Frank Scott.
I have some mediocre handouts. My printer's not too good. Google's always letting me down. Hey, you got your time? Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead, Frank. Just pass those down.
Good evening, and I appreciate this time to be able to address the commissioners. My name is Frank Scott. I worked with Philadelphia Electric Company for 32 years. I'm a registered professional engineer. I had 13 jobs while I was with Philadelphia Electric Company. I was a technical writer, liaison to real estate department, legal department, and PennDOT. But the main reason I'm here today, or tonight, is to ask that Merganser Drive be paved. I've been working on Merganser Drive for the last 13 years. On your handouts, you'll see Merganser Drive. You'll see some potholes on a picture. You'll see the equipment I'm using right now. I'm using a 23 horsepower Kubota tractor, a box scraper, and a chain harrow. And all my equipment's wearing out. It's also too small for the job. It's only 54 inches wide, and it's giving me a lot of problems. The road's getting a lot of waves in it. I'm having trouble with the shoulders. Equipment's getting old, and I'm getting old. I'm going to be 80 years old on my next birthday in January. So I think I want to go fishing, and I've been trying to find some neighbors that would take this over, but nobody seems to want to take it over. So
I think all this work is just
it's
keeping you young.
Yeah, hey, please speak out. I forgot to say that I'm a retired duck hunter. I can hardly hear you. So, but no, anything you can do, there's about 100+ people that use that road all the time. It's been in bad shape for years and years. They're half-acre properties with septic and wells, so there's not much in the street. Shane knows all about it. Todd knows about it, and you know, I just would like to get your approval, you know, to start the process so that we could upgrade that road. I brought a lot of my neighbors with me. Ricky Jones, raise your hand, Ricky. Ricky's been there about 25 years. Helen Armstrong's been there about 25 years. More than 25, you look up. 30 years. Donna Stewart, she's been here, what, 17, 18 years? Yeah. We got Roy next. Roy, what's your last name, Roy? Okay. Roy's been there just a couple of years now. And he put in a really, really nice house, a really nice two-story, beautiful. And Earl Lloyd, everybody probably knows Earl, right? So,
Who doesn't know Earl?
everybody knows Earl. But anything you could do and really start the process, because Todd's on board, Shane's on board, and we'd really like to get something going. I don't really want to say I'm a little afraid of my neighbors. But it could be a project. Todd knows about that. But anything you can do to help, I'd really appreciate it, and my neighbors would appreciate it, okay? Hey, got 8 seconds left. Okay, on those handouts, did anybody get my grocery list? I got fouled up. My wife gave me a grocery list.
You're supposed to start your speech with a joke, not finish.
Come on, dude. I'm in enough trouble already. Oh, time's up. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you. We could bring him in every meeting just to start her off, right?
Anybody else?
That's it.
That's it? All
Close
right.
press for comment.
All right, Commissioners, well, we can move, it's after 5:40, so we're good. We have 2 pieces of legislation up next. First, we have a public hearing on County Ordinance 2513. This is for the Sudlersville-Barclay wastewater subdistrict and the Sudlersville water subdistrict. This is to add these 2 subdistricts. This is a public hearing, and also to clean up a couple other things in our water and sewer plan as far as the definitions of those particular subdistricts. So, Mr. Thompson, you want to take it away?
County ordinance number 2513 was introduced on August 26, 2025. It's a bill entitled an act concerning water and wastewater subdistricts in Queen Anne's County for the purpose of establishing the Sudlersville-Barclay wastewater subdistrict, the Sudlersville water subdistrict, revising the existing wastewater subdistrict in Queen Anne's County, and generally revising, addressing, and regulating the water and wastewater subdistricts in the county by adding section 2461D, 2491A3, and 2491D to the Code of Public and Local Laws of Queen Anne's County, Maryland, and replacing section 2491B. This hearing is being held on September 23rd, 2025 at 5:40 in the County Commissioner Meeting Room, Liberty Building, 107 North Liberty Street, Centerville, Maryland. Copies of the ordinance have been available in the County Commissioner's office. There are regular business hours and online on the county website. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. Written testimony of any length can be submitted to the Commissioners at 107 North Liberty Street, Centerville. All hearing sites are accessible to individuals with disabilities. Sign language interpreters and assistive listening systems are available. Part of the record of this proceeding will be a certificate of publication indicating the notice of tonight's hearing was published for 3 successive weeks in the Bay Times, Record Observer, newspapers of general circulation in Queen Anne's County. No one signed up to speak with regard to ordinance 2513. Is there anybody here has any public comment or testimony?
All right, we'll close it. Let's go ahead.
Let's vote. Yeah. You want to wait for Jim, or you want to go ahead?
No, he's okay with it.
All right, make a motion to adopt County Ordinance 2513.
Second.
We got a motion, a second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 4 in favor, 1 absent, passes.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Do you want to hang around for that resolution?
Sure, that's next up. Next, we have item number 2 in your books, Commissioner, County Resolution 2514. This is assumption of Sudlersville, Town of Sudlersville debt. And this also was a subject of a public hearing, and this can be adopted.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2514.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 4 in favor, 1 absent, passes.
All right.
Oh, you weren't kidding.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. All right, that concludes our legislative portion of the agenda. Next, we have presentations. So if you'd like to turn to tab number 6, this is actually the item 3 in the tab 6. Page 19, we have Proclamation 2539, Suicide Prevention Month. And we have Melissa Kelly, For All Seasons member, and Mrs. Katie Thieke, Chief Marketing Officer. Want to come on up? Oh, I'm sorry.
Got a substitute instead?
Substitute?
Come
I'm
on
sorry.
up.
Okay. Come on up, please. Join us.
Do we open with comment, or do you read?
No, the commissioners can read the proclamation, or if you want to start off, that's fine too.
Go ahead and read the proclamation.
Go ahead.
You don't want to start first?
Well, I can. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm Melissa Kelly. You're seeing me in a different light tonight. I'm representing For All Seasons as a very proud board member. So For All Seasons is your behavioral health and rape crisis center in your communities. We have 7 locations throughout the Midshore, telehealth to ensure that access is available to everyone. We provide therapy, psychiatry, victim and crisis services, outreach and education. But we're here tonight because of Suicide Prevention Month, so thank you for putting it on the agenda and raising awareness about that very important issue. I think it impacts everyone. It's in our schools and our communities, and we just want to make sure that everyone's checking on everyone and make sure you're touching base with everyone. And it's Lauren Weber, our Chief Strategy Officer of For All Seasons.
I am subbing in tonight.
Okay.
This year's theme for our Suicide Prevention Month is called "I'm Fine Isn't the Whole Story." And we've really come to that, not lightly, but really listening to the young people in the communities that we serve and asking them questions about, when you're not doing well. So when we read the proclamation, you'll hear some pretty startling statistics, not just here in Maryland, but really here in this community around youth and depression, anxiety, and suicide. And when we've talked to these young people, what they've said is, well, my mom asked me if I'm okay, or my teacher asked me if I'm okay, and, maybe I'm in the hallway, or maybe I'm rushing off to school, and it's just easier to say I'm fine than to get into it, right? To say, actually, I'm really not okay. And so our theme for this year is really trying to encourage people, like Melissa said, to ask the question, how are you doing? And then when your gut tells you something's not right and they're not fine, to ask again and to really stick in. And here's the thing, tonight we're talking about suicide prevention, but really it's about connection. And you don't have to be feeling suicidal or be struggling with some of those mental health issues to care and for it to be meaningful when someone asks you how you're doing and they're really hanging in for the true answer. So we're here, and thank you really for your time and the attention on this subject, because it's on the rise. Suicide is at the highest levels we've seen in literally decades. We definitely know that the pandemic and the isolation that came along with it is a factor, but really are trying to raise the flag and shine a light that we all have a role to play, and that starts with shining a light like you all are doing tonight.
Why do you think that the rates aren't going down? Why are they increasing? Is it social media?
Social media is definitely a component, and I would add to that, and I was actually just having a conversation earlier today, AI. So we've been looking a lot around the use of AI because there's been some pretty startling cases that have been happening, and news around teenagers in particular using AI as kind of a therapist, as it were. There's some really great data, and I'm happy to follow up and share that the #1 use case of ChatGPT this year in 2025 is using it like it's a therapist or a companion. And that's up from 17% last year to 31% of all use cases this year. So I would say it's complicated. Mental health is complicated. Suicide is complicated. But for us, what we're always talking about at For All Seasons is connection, the power of real human connection. And when you get into that silo and you're really struggling, not having a real person reach out their hand, metaphorically or literally, to help you up is a challenge.
Were you here for our discussion with the delegates and the senator?
Earlier.
So we were talking about trying to get funding to build a youth mental and behavioral stabilization center and a step-down unit. So I would encourage you to reach out to Delegate Christ and Senator Hershey and encourage them to help us fund it, because we can't do it without them.
Sure. I think there are other counties on the shore that are also interested in that pursuit, so happy to support that initiative.
We've brought 6 counties together. They're all interested, but we've we've kind of hit a road bump because of funding. So, may I read this?
Sure, thank you.
So Proclamation 2539, whereas in 2023, nearly 49,000 Americans died by suicide, holding at levels not seen since 1941, with an average of one life lost every 11 minutes. And whereas across the country, 5.5% of adults reported serious suicidal thoughts, and more than 42% of U.S. adults personally know someone who has died by suicide, demonstrating the far-reaching impact of this public health crisis. And whereas in Maryland, 608 residents died of suicide in 2022, at a rate of one suicide death for every 10,000 people, which represents more deaths each year than from homicide. I did not know that statistic. Whereas right here in Queen Anne's County, the reality is urgent. 18% of middle school students and 20% of high school students report having seriously considered suicide. A concerning reminder that this crisis is present in the lives of our own children and neighbors. 20% of our high school students have considered suicide. Whereas too many individuals at risk never received the care they needed due to barriers such as limited access to training providers, long waiting times, and the stigma surrounding mental health treatment. And now, therefore, we, the Queen Anne's County Commissioners, do hereby urge all Queen Anne's County citizens to recognize suicide as a significant public health risk and declare suicide prevention and mental health support a priority, and support the development and availability of accessible behavioral health services for all residents so that no one is left without hope or help. And further, we, the Queen Anne's County Commissioners, do hereby declare that the month of September 2025 as No Matter What, You Matter Suicide Prevention Month in Queen Anne's County. We urge every resident to take action and to check in on their neighbors, their loved ones, and the people around them, because even a simple conversation can save a life. Signed, Queen Anne's County Commissioners. Thank you. I would just add that the assassination of Charlie Kirk has profoundly affected hundreds of thousands of kids, if not millions, that saw it live or that it was sent to their phone, including my wife. My wife opened it up, it was sent to her, it opened up, and it was just boom. And she couldn't sleep for a week because of the visual of it. So I would just encourage us to check in with you got to talk to our kids. And if you're a grandparent, you got to talk to your grandkids about life is worth it, right? We don't have to hate each other. We have to find common ground. We have to be able to talk to each other. And extreme politics is a cancer. And life is worth living. God created all of us special the way we are. He has a plan for us, and taking your life is not part of that plan. So I would just encourage us to talk to people.
I just want to add one thing. When you were reading the proclamation, you mentioned limited access to qualified trained staffers or therapists. They have an open access program. It's walk-in at several locations. So just encourage people to check the website out for those days and times, forallseasonsinc.org. So no wait to be seen, which is crucial, as you know.
You're talking about at your
at For All Seasons, there is a open access, so no wait to be seen.
And where is that location in Queen Anne's County?
We're in Stevensville in Queen Anne's County. We have telehealth, so more than half of our services are provided via telehealth. And you don't have to walk into a location to receive same-day care. It's also available via telehealth.
And what is your phone number for the people watching?
It's 410-822-1018.
So my last question is, first off, thank you for all you do. If a student is having trouble at school, they go to the nurse, and they're having a mental health issue, by law, is the nurse allowed to reach out to you, or is that a HIPAA violation?
There's a lot of complicated pieces with HIPAA. It depends on the age of the student. What I'm happy to share is it's not just the school nurse that's a part of that continuum of care. School counselors and school social workers are also a part of that. For All Seasons actually has therapists in the Kent Island schools that we're there able to accept in-person referrals direct from the teacher. But obviously parents need to be involved in treatment plans, especially for the younger age students.
Well,
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
yeah, please keep our picture.
What are we doing? Picture, photo?
Our public information officer is right back there. She'll take a picture.
Photo, photo?
Thank you all very much for the time.
Thank you very much. Step on up, Steve.
All right, Commissioners, next we have the Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation, Steve Chanley, with his update, and that is in your book under tab 6, item 4, starting on page 20, and we also have it up on the big screen here. So we will start here momentarily. Ready? All right. Good. All right, Steve, take it away.
All right, thank you. All right, so this is my first update in quite a while. So there's a lot of information, but a lot of it's just, self-explanatory. So the good thing about having a lot of information means that we get a lot of stuff done. So take a look at it that way. So our first thing is, first slide up here is some projects that we've completed. We've completed the Community Center Recreation Feasibility Study. We installed lights at Round Top, upgraded lights at Route 18 Park. We resurfaced tennis courts at Old Love Point Park, provided new fencing. We've got a skate park restroom finally installed. We also, which is new to us, we installed 2 new pieces of art in the parks, something we haven't had at all, and I think there are 2 pictures in here of that. We also installed the base phase of Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Kent Island South Trail continuation. Phase 2 is paved, and Phase 2 is the part in front of Mattapeake Elementary School. Phase 3 is the portion behind Mowbray Park, and that is set to go to construction October 1st.
Thanks.
So we're right upon that date. Again, the 2 new restroom facilities. You see the skate park, that's the one in place. The one that's slated for White Marsh Park looks very familiar. That's actually a picture of Macomb Creek, but we're going to duplicate that for White Marsh Park. We thought that design, because it's kind of a key point, a very prominent spot, and we wanted to kind of get some uniformity between those things and really make it stick out, because as you drive into the park, you're going to see that, and we think that that's a better view than the one on the left-hand side as you enter the park. The red square is actually where the White Marsh restroom location is going to go. So we're moving forward with that. Again, that puts it closer to some other fields. We'll still keep Porta-Johns at the far end of the field, and we'll also have the Clevis Mulchum up by the circle to the right. Talking about the trail, again, this is the South Island Trail Extension Project. You'll see Phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we're steadily moving forward with that. Phase 1 and 2 are, like I said, initially paved. Phase 3, getting ready to get started. Phase 4 is in design right now with our engineer. And again, that's just a better look at exactly where Phase 2 is.
Steve, is there going to be some sort of device to prevent vehicles from driving on the path right there by?
Right there. That area right there is going to be troublesome.
Yeah,
It has
because
been in the
they're
past.
used to it when there was just grass, and now that there's the bike path, they're saying, oh, wow, this is paved, that was great, the county did that for us. But it's not really sustainable for vehicular traffic.
Correct, and because motorized vehicles shouldn't be on the trail to begin with.
Correct.
So we have already installed fencing at the end of the Davidson Road. We'll have probably a bollard near the school. Obviously, that's where most people have come in. We do have occasions, surprisingly, that people will drive across the parking lot, all over the fields to there.
Really?
Yes.
Determination.
It is determination. So again, we're looking to, I hate to say it, but fortify those entrance points to make sure that people don't get on there because, it's just, the two don't mix well. Again, talking about Phase 3, we got the bids on August 8th. We got a exceptional cost from Brambles. They're going to do everything from tree removal to setting the base trail to paving it. The hard part about this is because of the area, construction can only be performed between September to March. And we got to take a break, and then we can come back in September again the following year. And that has to do with forest interior dwelling species, also known as FIDs. That's their nesting period during that summertime.
What is?
It's called FIDs, forest interior dwelling species.
Okay.
Species. So that's why there's that short time frame of construction that's allowed, and then they got to take a break if they don't finish it, and then come back and finish it by then. So we think they will be able to complete it. We've talked to them. They understand the deadline that's set before them. One of the really great things we had was the Mowbray Park rededication. Again, that was, Commissioner Corcorino's push to us, and we appreciate that. And there's a picture of the family in front of the new memorial. Not only did we make a new memorial, but we put it to as you wanted a more prominent section. So it's right there, just as you exit the park or enter the park. And it also has a street light that will shine down on it. It's a regular safety light, so we don't have to worry about having, the solar lights down on the bottom and they get kicked out and knocked out and all that kind of stuff. That was a very good event, and the family again was super appreciative. As I talked about the art in the parks, you see the dog over on the left-hand side, that's over at White Marsh Dog Park. And then the family is the structure that's in front of our headquarters. More often than not, a lot of people continue to drive by us and don't know that that's the Parks and Recreation headquarters. So, I wanted to find something that, one, we could use as a landmark to get people to come to us. And
So who did it? Where'd they come from?
I found that artist at a festival in Connecticut, and he goes, throughout the United States. So it's been a good deal, and we're still looking at different pieces to add to the parks. Something different. Again, it's a different type of recreation for folks. Earlier in the years, you've heard us talk about our invasive weed management, the master contract, where we had 8 contractors on board, where we can deploy them to the different parks that we need, because again, it's a tight timeline when a lot of those invasive weeds need to be managed. And you can see before and after pictures on both slides up there. So this was one way of them cutting. Again, this is the cross-county connector, and you can see where we've taken out a nice swath on the right-hand side if you're coming from Royal Farms going towards the Kent Narrows. This is a third way, was burn. We did this up at Conquest in cooperation with DNR and Washington College. It's super effective. It has worked tremendously, and you know, again, there's lots of different options. There's chemicals, there's mechanical, and then there's fire. Moving on to our recreation, again, this is just a snapshot of all the different leagues that we run out of our shop, the number of participants that we have. I'm not going to read through them, but you can see we've got some good numbers for our leagues that we do run. And because we don't have facilities, we have to be creative. So if anybody can recognize that structure there,
Conquest.
We had wrestling there. And they brought their mats, and they went out there three weekends. They had about 40 kids to participate in there. So again, it's a great summertime thing. It's a nice atmosphere, and it's a little bit different. We talked about athletic field coordination, and you can see we have a total of 35 total seasonal leagues, 35 different leagues, 16 in the spring, 19 in the fall. Those are all the different teams, participants. And again, those are outside groups that come to us. You look at the artificial turf rentals, you can see the amount of hours. We've got almost 1,700 hours for artificial turf. We've got some baseball tournaments booked for 2025. Actually, we finished them up, but there's 5 of them. So again, we're getting, you know, different groups coming in and utilizing our facilities, and we get a lot of good response with that. Summer camps, you know, again, these are all the different camps that we have there. I think there's about 17 different camps there. The specialty camps and the sports camps are all what we call contractor camps. So if, you know, Commissioner Dumanel teaches an umpiring camp, then, you know, he would be up there for that. And the other ones, you like that. And then we have the traditional campus where we hire the staff and we run it out of 2 schools. And adaptive recreation for our special needs populations that we take care of. Public landings, Crumpton and Deep Landing bulkhead projects are signed and sealed and getting ready for construction. So what they'll do is they'll do one of them first, push everybody from the one that's under construction to the opposite one, then flip, and vice versa. We also did a project at Price Creek dredging with CBEC, thin layer placement, and that's taking the spoils from a dredging project, spreading it out there. We're working on Muddy Creek, getting that engineering bid awarded to GMB. And
Any idea, Steve, where the spoils from Muddy Creek, or is that still in the works?
That's still in the works right now.
Okay.
There is a chance that it might, I think there was some talk that it might go to CBEC as well. I mean, it could,
Okay.
it could take those.
To raise the road?
Not the road. Or, yes. They're still in consultation, trying to
Okay.
figure out exactly where to go with that. Our public landing supervisor testified in support of House Bill 1260, which talked about abandoned boat legislation. And again, this was something that Commissioner Corcorino was a part of and working with the community down there out of Thompson Creek. We also had the Lieutenant Governor and some of their cabinet members come to Mattapique Beach and Clubhouse, and we were able to talk with them and show them off some of the projects that we have. One of the projects we were able to show off was the Mattapique dredging project. And again, that's the cove at Mattapique. And they took the spoils on that and they pumped it over to Mattapique Beach. And what that did, in essence, it made the beach bigger. So instead of having, let's just say, a normal 15-foot beach area, now it's about 25 feet. So it makes for a better experience there. And you can see the pipe, and you can actually see how much bigger the area is. We're also in the process of upgrading all of our signs at the landings and at the Mattapique Fishing Pier and Roman Cove Fishing Pier. And this is an idea or this is what will be placed up there. And again, we're looking to make everything consistent, so there's a common theme. So when you come in, you know that, this is what a landing looks like, or this is what the pier looks like at a Queen Anne's County facility. There's Roman codes. And this would be at the public landings. That's the board that'll be placed on. So Bay Bridge Airport continues to operate extremely well with flight training and maintenance. And Blue Heron Golf Course, we've got the tee times up there in the leagues. Looks like there's a little bit of something for everybody. There's Mondays, ladies' nights, Tuesday, men's league, Wednesdays, couples, and Thursdays, men's seniors. And they've been doing well, not only with their leagues, but also with the driving range as well. And that is what's been going on in a nutshell. Questions?
Yeah, so the one thing I did notice, and I guess it's a good thing, I don't know, I know Jim does, he looks at stuff like that, that Bats Neck and Churchill have twice, if not 2.5 times more hours logged on them than our high school fields do.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, I'm guessing, is it a conflict with this high school
Well,
schedules, or is
Part
that?
of it is with the high school schedules, but there's also a different fee structure. The high schools are more expensive. We made the park, Bats Neck and Churchill, their fees lower to the community users, because again, it's great that we got those. We didn't add to our inventory. What we did is we changed, the look of the inventory. So because our artificial turf is more popular, you're now bringing in other groups that want to come in and rent. So we didn't want to displace, our
Existing groups.
No, that's just great, 1,100 hours, and it's good, pretty good, so. yeah.
And, again, with artificial turf, we'll have groups that will go all the way up through December, and if January happens to be nice, they may pop in there for, soccer or rugby or what have you, so.
So, on this subject of the artificial turf field, so there's testing there's a device that they test. That measures the wear on the turf surfaces. So how are they holding up at the two high schools?
So far, they're doing good, and we do the GMAX testing, that's what it's called. We do it every year, usually mid-August, again, and it's good because it's right at the end of the summer, after a full use of time, and then it gets ready for football season, where you're gonna get, I'll say a lot of the head banging and, falling down on the ground, and soccer, stuff like that. So we're on a consistent basis with that, and so far our numbers have been, within the ranges that they're supposed to as well.
Based on how old the field is.
Yeah. And, you can get, 8 years out of a field, or you can get 12 years out of a field. As long as you're maintaining it and still grooming it and, taking care of it, it's...
I guess I imagine Queen Anne's High School turf doesn't get as much use as the Ken Island one?
Correct.
Okay.
Because again, you get...
Sure, you got folks coming across the bridge
It's worth the
to
trip.
use the field.
All right, any other questions? Want to hit action number 3 and 4 since he's here?
Sure. All right, Commissioners, we can move into new business. Action item number 3. On page 25 through 29, this is for the 2026 4th of July fireworks contract.
Correct.
So we're recommending option 1, which is Wednesday, July 1st, with the same vendor, Zambelli's, $65,100. A little bit of a price increase due to tariffs and things, but I think they've done a fine job for us. But option 2 was Thursday, July 2nd. So
I move to authorize the Department of Parks and Recreation to execute the fireworks contract with Zambelli's for the July fireworks celebration to be held on Wednesday, July 1st, 2026, with a rain date of Thursday, July 2nd, 2026, with the recommendation of option 1.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second, just for discussion, because people always say, why aren't you doing 4th of July fireworks on the 4th of July? And the reason that we do it on the 4th of July, when the 4th of July does not fall on a Friday or a Saturday. And the reason is, people might not know this, but Route 50 has a little bit of traffic in the summertime. So Fridays are not a good day to plan an event where you have to mobilize for the fireworks, you have to direct traffic, you gotta close down roads. So that's why we do it on the Wednesday, and it gives us Thursday for a rain out day. And that's why it's done like that. May not be perfect, but if we did it on the 4th on a Friday, everybody would say, why are you doing it when you know there's traffic? So,
There's already enough distractions going on, you don't need
correct.
more.
Yeah, so that's why we do it that way. Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. And action item number 4 on pages 30 through 35. This is for several pickup trucks for the Department of Parks and Recreation. They're recommending purchase of 2 2026 Ford F-350s from Hertrick Fleet Services for $109,792 using a Howard County contract, pre-established government contract, and one 2024 Chevy Silverado 1500, also from Hertrick, under that same contract for $39,382 for a total amount of $149,174. And these are replacement units for existing.
Yeah, I think that's, well, so, I'll make a motion to authorize the Department of Parks and Recreation to purchase 2 2026 Ford F-350 trucks at a cost of $109,792 and one 2024 Chevy Silverado for the cost of $39,382 from Hertrick Fleet Services Incorporated in Milford, Delaware for a total of $149,174.
Second.
All right, got a motion, second. Any discussion?
But just the fact that these are replacing a Chevy Blazer from 1998.
It's historical.
It is. It's tough to give it up.
And then a 2005 Chevy Silverado. So
Can we keep it on the payroll?
Actually, you
We get a
can't,
historic
you can't
tag.
tag them anymore, and you write the new laws, yeah, it's more now, you can't even do it.
they have to be 25 years old to be historic, right?
You can be a little more than that now. I know they made it so that people gotta turn it, I told you, you gotta turn
No,
the
I
tags
don't.
in.
I checked. I don't.
Not gonna do it.
He's just being stubborn.
Vintage.
Till he gets pulled over.
Vintage, not
Till
historic.
he gets pulled over.
All right, motion and a second. Any more discussion? Any quips about Steve buying more toys? No? Okay.
It's been a while, I gotta give him credit.
I was
He's-
just making sure.
I think he's on a 12-step plan now. He's weaning himself off that stuff.
All right. All in
you,
favor?
Steve.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Steve, good presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Great job on all the parks.
Well, let's continue with the action items under tab 3, and then we'll do Mr. Quimby, Public Works. He'll be our finale this evening. So, tab 3, item 1, pages 1 through 20. This is Land's End Rural Legacy Agreement of Sale and Project Agreement for Thompson Farms. This is 105.3 acres owned by Thompson Farms, ready to be submitted to DNR for review and final approval for the Rural Legacy grants. And it is within our Land's End Rural Legacy area, adding to the over 5,000 acres preserved there. No county funds are needed for this preservation easement.
I make a motion to approve the Rural Legacy Agreement of Sale and Project Agreement for the Thompson Farms LLC property.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. And thank you, Donna and Joe, for submitting all of that. Great work, as always. Item number 2, this is an administrative item. This is an Economic Development Incentive Fund grant agreement for Miltech. Back in May, the Commissioners recommended the EDIF, and the Commissioners approved the $2,565 grant for EDIF Workforce Development to fund training and professional development for management and staff at Miltech. So this is the agreement for signature for that grant agreement.
I move to execute the grant agreement between Economic Development Incentive Fund and Miltech in the amount of $2,565.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 5 is some employee handbook policy revisions and updates. The original employee handbook was prepared and adopted back in 2022. Since then, there's been several revisions, 2 revisions, and currently we want to reprint the handbook, and funds have been included in the FY26 budget for that purpose. As a result, Human Resources took the time to review the handbook for any suggested updates, and we have a number of recommendations which have been reviewed by the directors of the departments and the Employee Communications and Morale Committee and our labor attorney. So do you want to go into the details about some of those changes?
No.
And they're all pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Ms. Churchill's here if you have any questions, but it is ready for your consideration.
Motion?
I move that the above-listed employee handbook and policy revisions be approved as indicated to be effective October 8th, 2025, and the compensatory time revision be effective March 25th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 5-0.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Desk item number 1, Budget Amendment CC1 for Muddy Creek Dredging Project. This is recognizing a $350,000 Maryland DNR grant for that tax district dredging loan as the funding source for the project, and it reflects anticipated expenditures for the dredging effort as special benefit assessments for those residents over 25 years. No county funds requested or needed.
Motion approved, budget amendment CC1.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioners, thank you. And desk item number 2, Kent Island Federation of Arts. This is a letter for supporting a capital grant agreement. They're submitting for $75,000 for improvements and renovations to the Art House located at 405 Main Street in Stevensville's Historic Arts and Entertainment District.
I move to execute the Kent Island Federation of Arts Capital Arts Grant Letter of support for the Art House grant application in the amount of $75,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, Commissioners, thank you very much. That is all of the action items. We can now go back to tab 2 for the Department of Public Works.
Sanitary?
Mr. Quimby, yes, and we have to convene as the Sanitary
Motion
Commission.
to convene as sanitary.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, DPW, tab 2, item 1, page 1. Phase 4 construction bids for the Southern Kent Island Sewer Project. This is the 4th and final phase of that project to install the septic tank effluent pump assemblies on 211 improved properties in the Phase 4 service area, which includes Chesapeake Estates, Sunny Isle, Kent, Mattapique Estates, and the Bats Neck area. We have 2 bids, and we recommend the award to the low bidder, Schumer, $6,812,720, subject to MDE's concurrence.
I move that we conditionally award the construction bid of the Southern Kent Island Phase 4 septic tank effluent pumps installation to Schumer, Inc. in the amount of $6,812,720, with the condition being that the review and approval of the bid by the Maryland Department of the Environment, and also I authorize the Director of Public Works to execute the agreement once any necessary submittals and approvals are in place.
Second.
Any discussion?
You want to share with the audience what this is about?
Not really.
That was kind of a silly question. You obviously don't know who's sitting here. It's something
For
that,
$6 million, we better,
it's something that it's just the final phase of what we've been doing for
For a long time.
long time.
7 years now.
Yep.
It was more like 10.
Huh?
More like 10
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, before me.
Goes back
Yeah,
to,
16, I
goes
guess
back,
you're right?
yeah, it goes back to my first term.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, 16, I guess. Wow. Time flies, huh? I know you're glad to see
If
this.
you're on the
stuff come in.
sidelines, it flies, yeah.
Yeah, we'll say that.
I think a valuable lesson was learned here today, Patrick.
Public Works has done an outstanding job, and Alan's been with this project for many, many years, as you know. We, unfortunately, we have a low bid here. We're going to award that, but Schumer, Cole Ventures did all the other 3 phases with the septic tank effluent pump systems. Hopefully, Schumer will do as good of a job with our customer services.
Trenching, the all directional bore. There you go.
Yeah, so
Beat to the fire.
we'll keep you apprised. We hope
This whole section's nothing but directional bore.
This is the on-lot portion. but
This is the
yeah,
on-lot
You
portion,
still
yeah.
have a pressure main that you can bore and electric conduit that you can bore. It just reduces the restoration components.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
So,
Awesome.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
You sure you don't want to talk about it, Alan?
I've talked about it enough over the last 10 years.
Just checking. Just
We'll have
figuring
a-
I'd
Talks
get-
about it in his sleep, he doesn't want to talk about it now.
we'll have a big celebration when it's all finished, right, Alan? Yeah, good. All right, our final item this evening, Commissioners, for Public Works, item 2 on pages 2 through 14. This is the Sudlersville Water Treatment Plant and Water Tower lease. And as part of the action to fully assume the town's water and sewer facilities and to finalize the USDA loans, we need to execute a lease for the water facilities because we don't have time to transfer those properties over in fee simple prior to the closing of those loans. So this is kind of an interim step. Ultimately, those lands will be deeded back to the county when that's ready to go. So,
I move to execute the Sudlersville Water Treatment Plant and Water Tower lease with the town of Sudlersville.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 5-0.
Thanks, Alan.
all right, Commissioners, I think I covered all the action items. If I missed anything. So we can go to press and public comment.
Nothing? All right, let's get press and public comment. Is there anybody here who wants press and public comment? We're good? Round table.
I'm going to let you talk.
Are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely, El Presidente.
All right.
So, I'm good.
Who wants to go first then?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Apologize for not being here for the CTP meeting, but my gut feeling is they didn't come with a big bag of money or promises, right? So I didn't miss anything.
Oh, you missed it. We're getting all new roads and bridges.
If there's not a dump truck of gold out there when I go to leave tonight, I'm going to be mad. but-
Just watch last year's meeting.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. 10 years. It's like Groundhog Day. But anyway, so I apologize. I knocked 3 more counties off the list for today, this morning, starting with Kent, Caroline, and Talbot. So to your points that you were making about state going after county autonomy. So we've had all 17 conversations with the counties has been kind of geared around that. Solar came up pretty much at all but one county, I think. And moreover, what we looked at from the solar, where it affected us directly here in Queen Anne's County in terms of our farmland, the overarching problem with the whole solar bills was the fact that it was a grab on local zoning. And basically that's what it was from the get-go, was that the state would say, solar's going here, counties have no say in where solar goes, what it looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like. So there's been an overarching move, and I spoke about this when the delegates and senators were here, for the state to start taking just little teeny pieces, getting the camel nose under the tent and saying, oh, well, you know what, county, you don't really know what you're doing there. You'd be better served if we make that decision, that zoning decision. So the good news is, going into an election year session, the thought is there will be no more grabs this coming year, which gives us a year to really create a defensive plan to start to stop some of this before it starts. The housing bill that's going to probably be presented in the legislature this year is going to be what it should have been last year, and that was basically to provide density in areas that already have public utilities to provide density, which is your Silver Springs of the world, your Bethesdas, because quite frankly, that's where people want to build houses. There was a comment about building more rural high-rises, which that's laughable, right? As soon as I heard that, I was like, and it's actually in there. It's in a speech somewhere. It talks about doing rural high-rises. Not sure how that looks, how you get there. Again, just, we're not going to be there next year. So again, I'm really, people need to pay attention to this because it will affect, what we here in Queen Anne's County try to preserve, which is our rural look, feel, and just quite frankly, the autonomy we have to say where housing's going to go, what it's going to look like, to what density it's going to be. And we abide by all the rules right now, but the last thing I want to see is the state to come in and basically tell us, here's what we're going to do because we have a housing crisis statewide. Queen Anne's County, we don't have a housing crisis here. If you talk to some people, we got too many houses here. So, but again, it is going on. There is a effort along those lines, but I would say the consensus amongst those who follow most of this in Annapolis for the sessions and for many years don't believe this session is going to be as damaging as this past session. We started out the first like 6 counties, actually this one being one of them, where we talked about what went on the last session, and we left everybody so damn depressed in like the first 6 counties. I told Michael, I was like, we can't do this anymore. These people. So the next ones we go, well, we're going to look the next session, but quite frankly, it doesn't look much better in terms of the budget and the nuts and bolts things. But again, we'll be vigilant about it. Queen Anne's County's not giving up their home rule. We're very proud of it, and we do a great job here as commissioners in the county and as a whole, and all of everybody that works here and lives here. We got a great county across the board. So we will keep fighting that fight, and that's about the only one I got from the state right now.
So on a happier note.
See, I told you it's depressing. I don't like bringing that stuff.
So I actually had the honor of attending an Eagle Scout ceremony. I have to confess that was the first one that I've attended, and it's absolutely amazing what they have to do to achieve Eagle Scout. It starts as Cub Scouts, and they work their way up, and they achieve all those famous badges and the things that they have to do. I don't think that I could survive in the woods. Now that I know what these Eagle Scouts have to achieve in order to reach that status. So I would just hope that I have an Eagle Scout if I'm lost in the woods. And then the other thing is, Jack didn't mention it, but we had an opportunity to attend the swearing in, and actually Jack and I got to swear in our sheriff, who is now the president of the Maryland State Sheriff's Association. So that was great to be able to be participant in that. Yeah. Participate in that ceremony. So congratulations to Sheriff Hoffman in achieving president of the Maryland State Sheriff's Association.
Second time.
Second time. Yep.
Patrick. Linda Friday is retiring, who is our great president of the Chamber of Commerce. And there is a open house for her on the 13th of October. And VAMSA is our veterans and military support system in the county and surrounding counties. And they're having an open house on November 13th at 5 o'clock at the Beach Club. And it is open to the public, and I hope the commissioners attend that open house to learn about how to support our veterans in need. That's it.
Got nothing?
Good, brother.
All right.
He's halfway to Yellowstone.
All right, well, so I guess I get to do the great news of announcing. So we just, last week, was it last week? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, last week. A delegation of the county officials went up to New York to meet with the bond rating agencies, where we had economic development, finance, Commissioner Moran and myself, County Administrator Mon, and to present to the bond rating companies. And the reason we do this is because you want to prove that the county is in great fiscal shape so that you can get better rates on the bonds that you put out there, so you pay less money to finance infrastructure projects. So if you think about it, if your FICO score is like a 300, that car is going to be very expensive for you. If your FICO score is 800, that car is going to become a lot cheaper for you. And that's why it's important. It is very difficult to get a AAA bond rating. There are 3 agencies that do it: Moody's, Fitch's, and S&P. And for years, we've been able to get 2 AAA bond ratings, and that elusive third one from Moody's haunted us. And I'm really grateful to say that this year we got triple bond rating from Moody's, S&P's, and Fitch's. So we have triple bond rating. We are the only county on the Eastern Shore that has that. It is,
and ours is better than the state of Maryland right now.
and yes, exactly right. So
Just saying.
I want to
Yeah.
point out that Moody's downgraded the state of Maryland last year, and
money
they
from
moved
us.
us up. And so, if you think about it, Queen Anne's County has a FICO of 850. It doesn't get any better than what we have. And what that means is that we're going to pay less to borrow money. So we're not paying the VIG to the Wall Street for all that money. We are getting more money that goes back into infrastructure projects and, expansions of facilities that we have at a much lower cost to the taxpayers. So we're able to do more with that. And when you look at the millions of dollars that you bond, that's a significant amount of money that gets saved. And the things that the bond rating agencies looked for is money in rainy day funds, that we have solid fiscal policies, that we've had longevity of the commissioners here. I mean, they looked at it, we have about 50 years of local government experience just on the county commissioners.
You guys are old.
And then we have, even at the director level, the sheer length of service of the director level of the county. As Jim was saying earlier, the directors make our job easier because they've been doing this so long, they know what to do. And one of the things that I pointed out to Moody's is that in the state of Maryland, whether it's the governor or the General Assembly or the comptroller or MEC or any other organizations, when they form committees or boards to study something on economic development or on land use or any issues, it is often Queen Anne's County that is asked to serve or lead on those committees. And for a very small county, it's not just the commissioners, it's the folks that work for the county that are asked to be on these committees and lead these. That's a remarkable thing. I don't think that any other county has quite the record that we do. We punch way above our weight class, and I think it's an amazing thing that we're able to return back to the citizens. So AAA bond rating might not sound like much to the citizens, but it's a big deal, and we're super, super excited about being able to do that. The press release will be going out. A lot of hard work. Didn't think we were going to get it, but it was worth it.
Awesome.
And also getting it and fully funding the blueprint in Kerwin.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of other places might have that AAAs, but they struggle with their funding of the Kerwin. So I think it is a testament. And
Or have raised taxes and not lower them in that same
Right.
time frame, if you think about it.
Yeah,
we could weather a
We
hell of
lowered
a
it,
storm
yeah.
here without any problem at all. So.
I have a question regarding our new bond rating. So any of the current bond debt that we carry, are the interest rates on that subject to our new?
No.
Oh, yes, we are going to refund one of the old bonds. So that
can
one
you
would be.
refinance
It's
it?
a refinance. Part of that bond sale on October 1st is a refunding of one of our prior bonds, so we will get a better rate on that
Okay.
as well.
That was my question.
Yes. So.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, man.